Hey everybody, today's episode is brought to you by our very own Impact Theory University. Enjoy the episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Tom. I am here with somebody who's going to help me ring in the new episode here on this set, Rachel Hollis. Thank you so much for joining me and for helping me smash the bottle of champagne on this set.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. I'm also glad that you got the memo about wearing yellow today. So we matched.
We're ready to rock and roll.
Not on purpose, but yeah.
So I read your new book.
Oh, did you?
You're surprised?
I didn't know that. You were like, get it to me. And I was like, I'll get right on that. I didn't know. How'd you even get it?
They gave me a
someone
PDF
did.
copy.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is a whole different conversation then.
All right. Well, very exciting. So my question is, I'm going to sum it up in a way that I think you'll probably disagree with, but this is what it felt like to me.
Okay.
And as one of the most upbeat, optimistic people I have ever come across in my life, it is so fun to be around you because you're so intense in a way that I resonate with, and I know we will talk about tonight. Why write a book about dealing with trauma?
Right. So I got into quarantine beginning, or maybe second week in March, we went into quarantine. We shut, we had the company, everyone go virtual. And that first, I want to say 10 days, I really freaked out. I think most of us were freaking out all around the world.
As an entrepreneur, you were freaking out?
As an entrepreneur, yeah. So our business, the largest part of our revenue comes from our live events. And I had no idea when that would happen again. And I have 60 employees who, right, it's big, who, you know, pay bills. And the reason I freaked out when I first went into quarantine is because I knew. So I've been an entrepreneur for 17 years. And that means that I held a company together through 2008. And it was like a visceral, like I remembered it so fast. And it was like, okay, here we go again. And the first, couple weeks I freaked out and I drank too much vodka, which is an old coping mechanism of mine. And then you hit that moment where you're like, okay, get your shit together. Like there is no other way. You've got to figure this out. And as I was in that mode of truly like save my company, save these people's jobs, I was editing the book I had already written. So I wrote a book called Girl, What the Health, which was all about women and body image and the way that
we had talked about that. So that's what I thought was going to be this book to her. And I was like, whoa. How the hell did she write another book that fast?
Right. So I started editing it and I was like, this is wrong. And so that book is written with typically my nonfiction books. There's a lot of humor. It's very irreverent. I'm talking about silly things. I want to make you laugh so that maybe you're better able to receive some bigger conversation. And it just felt so tone deaf. Yeah. And I was like, I can't do this. Now, the interesting thing about this time period is I've lived through a lot of really shitty things, unfortunately. And I was like, there are some things I know about how to navigate this time. I know that it's going to get better someday, and I know it's going to be brutal in the meantime. Like just because you have hope that tomorrow will be better doesn't mean that you're not self-aware enough to understand that like every day between now and then may be awful. So, I started thinking about what would I want to say if I could say anything in this time.
Is this like March still?
This is March, yeah. Okay. And there is a part of me, if I'm being honest, as an author, I've always wanted to write a crash book. Do you know a crash?
No.
So a crash book, if you've ever seen, the best example I can think of, which sounds terrible, is like you see a celebrity die, and then it seems like a month later, there's a book on the and you're like, how in the world did they do that? It's called a crash book. They wrote it really fast. They rushed it through the publishing process. They crashed it.
Right.
And as I started to think about what I would want to write, I reached out to my editor and I said, I feel like I need to write something for where we are now. And naively, I was like, I feel like I need something for her, meaning my reader. I need something for her to read when this is over in a couple months, which is so dumb. But
everybody was thinking it was weeks though back in March.
Right.
Like this is going to be a couple
yeah,
weeks.
this is like wild.
We thought 2 to 3 weeks.
Right.
Like, And then I was like, okay, maybe it's going to be a month or two. Like this could be crazy.
Yeah.
And so it was actually, I would say, unusual that you had the foresight to see that this is going to be longer than just a couple of weeks back then. Because that was the other thing. I was like, whoa, to commit to a book that is so clearly of the moment when you don't know, we could be out of quarantine by the time this hits. And then it would almost seem like passé.
You know what's interesting is I didn't know when we would be out of quarantine, but I'm wise enough to understand how much this will devastate our economy for years. And so I actually wasn't even really writing for people. It wasn't like, oh, I don't know when quarantine ends. It doesn't matter. As you and I sit here right now, if quarantine ended, like if it ended tomorrow, if we had the answer tomorrow, our economy is still fucked for years to come because of what's happened. And you and I are both really fucking lucky and really fucking blessed. And there are a lot of people who don't know how they're paying rent this month, who lost their job, who got furloughed, their partner lost their job. Like, I could see like what this was going to be. And I thought, is there something that I could create that would maybe be helpful? And I started to write it. And it's not, I mean, you know, if you read it, it's not my normal tone.
It's still
I tried.
Like, it is very clearly a Rachel Hollis book.
I hope so.
For sure.
Yeah. They were like, could you just add like one joke in the editing process? Because I still wanted it to be hopeful, and I still wanted to hopefully illustrate things in a way that people could hear. But you're talking about crisis. You know, the world has gone through this massive crisis, and for many people, they're experiencing loss, or it could be traumatic. The PTSD that comes out of this for our healthcare workers, like we can't even fathom what this is going to be. And I don't say that I'm not, you know me, I'm not a pessimistic person, but I do think that this will have far-reaching ramifications.
I'm like crazy optimistic, almost pathologically optimistic. I found, one, by temperament, I am that way. And then two, it just, as an entrepreneur, you have to find that gear. Otherwise, you'll never take the chances that you need to grow. And so when I was the one saying to the team, guys, this could get really bad. Like, and I've often said, this is like, the economy's essentially been shot. It's a person who's been shot and they're bleeding out. Nobody knows how serious it is yet, because you're looking at them and they seem fine. Or do you know what a space case is?
No.
I can't believe this shit is real. This is the craziest thing ever. So did you see the M. Night Shyamalan movie? Oh God, the one with Mel Gibson, Signs?
One of the most terrifying movies in my life. I'm terrified of aliens. We should circle back.
We should circle back. But his wife in it's based on a real thing. It's called a space case. So somebody that they've been pinned against something, but their lower half has been severed. So they are going to die.
Right.
But because the blood is basically crimped, they can't bleed out.
Right.
But the second you pull that vehicle back, then it's over.
Joaquin Phoenix to swing away.
Correct.
Right.
So it is. I was in a writing class, and there was a guy that wrote. He was an EMT, and he wrote a story, and it was funny because everyone's criticism was, "That's so fake. No one would ever, like, you can't do that." And he was like, "I'm a fucking EMT. I'm telling you, this was basically a documentary. What I wrote." He was like, "I did not exaggerate." He was like, "I changed the dialogue, obviously." But he was like, this really happens. So I'm like, what we're going through right now is a space case where the economy has been hit so hard, but with like the government subsidies and stuff, like everything, hey, it seems fine. But I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen when you back that vehicle up.
It's like, I'm thinking of in my hometown, you know, my dad owns a business in my hometown and has managed to still barely stay alive. You know, had that thing where you're paying the lease for the business that you can't go into. And I was talking to him the other day, and he's so angry, because that's how my dad expresses emotion. He's so angry, but what it is sadness of these restaurants. I come from a small town, so these restaurants that have been in our town for 50 years, like family-owned businesses, and he's naming them, and they're famous where I come from, and they're gone. There's a really famous place in Austin called Shady Grove that had same kind of thing, had been around forever, and everybody loved it. It's like this beloved thing, and it's gone. And there's loss in a bunch of different ways. And I still think there's beauty in this time, and I think that there's goodness. You know me, like I'm gonna look for how is this for us and all of that. But that's what started the process. Was like I think I want to write something that meets my reader where they're at. Typically, I think I'm writing to try and hopefully guide you somewhere. And in this instance, I was like, nah, I'm coming to you. Let's walk through this thing together, because it's going to be hard. And you can numb out and you can, watch TikTok or stream Netflix forever, but you're eventually going to come back to the reality that is, and that's hard. And so how do we get through it? So that's where the idea came from.
It's interesting. What's fascinating is, of course, the timing then of your divorce,
right,
and the bizarre sort of cynical voice that has raised its head, which I guess the book hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
So there's no way that they've read it.
Yeah.
So once you read it, it's like, it's clearly not a book about your divorce. Your divorce is mentioned because you were editing when you were going through it, but
I felt like I had to. Like I felt like
you had to mention the divorce.
I had to say it.
Yeah, it would have been super fucking weird.
Right. And my audience knows me, and I have talked about everything. It's a big part of my platform is to be honest about where I'm at and what I've gone through. And I thought, like, this is crazy. There's like a full on, the editor and the publisher and everyone gets on the phone like, hey, you have to address this. And that felt like I wanted to puke. Like, how do you write about something that you're drowning inside of?
I'd never heard that phrase before, write from your scars,
yeah,
not from your wounds.
And I don't know. I mean, I looked it up when I was trying to reference it in the book, and it's attributed to a lot of different people. But the idea is that you're never supposed to teach from your open wounds. You're supposed to teach from scars. You're supposed to teach from places that have healed over, that you've done the work on. So you can say, like, back then, this was something that I struggled with. If you are teaching from an open wound, like a current pain in your life, number one, you don't even know how you're going to feel about that 5 years from now. And also, it's being colored by emotion. And so it doesn't really feel fair to be teaching anyone anything.
Do you feel like you taught around your divorce, though, in the book? It didn't feel that way to me.
No, I didn't want to. I only wanted to, the book starts there, like, this is what happened, because I needed to explain that I wrote the entire book, and then in the editing process, I was in the midst of a breakup. And so the first pass was very much what you would normally get from me, like coach and teacher and whatever. And then in an edit, it changed and it became more nuanced, and I was in so much more pain trying to write this thing. And it's really weird too, I'll tell you, like, I started doing press last week, I want to say, and I had the very first call, people. And I mean, that's a big get. And as an author, like, that's the kind of thing you dream of, having People magazine care about your book. And I got off that call and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have this conversation.
Because it's right where people go, yeah.
Right. And that everybody starts there. What's going on? How you doing? How are the kids? And it's just like, oh my God, this is, it's already hard enough. And I'm also navigating really deeply caring about being respectful of him.
Sure.
And if one person then is the only one who's sort of being asked these things, that also doesn't feel fair. And so it's just like, it's a big clusterfuck. Like, this is all, I was driving over here today and I was like, this is a wild time to be sitting down with Tom, right? And I thought, like, I almost text you and just said, like, I don't even want to record a show. I just, like, want to sit with my friends and talk about all the things.
No, and that's why we were talking before we started rolling about this setup feels too much like we're on a set.
Right.
And the goal of this show for sure is exactly that. And I know, like, one, getting a chance to talk to people that have a very similar life to you there's so much joy and, like, oh my God, only you are going to understand this, like,
this
weird
very
little thing.
Weird thing, yeah.
Which is actually something that I found really interesting about the book was in the way that you share, in the way that you talk about everything, it does feel like somebody who's not trying to preach or anything, just like, hey, I will say that the book had a sense of speaking from the scar and not from the wound, but it was like, look, I've been through this thing, it's fucking gnarly, I've been through something like this, and just, I don't know, and that's your normal style, is to sort of walk people through. But when I think about what the promo tour for this book is gonna be like, the danger, I think, for you is the way that when people ask you the same question, you develop a loop. And for something that's so live that you're going through right now to become a loop is fucking risky when you need to process through and figure out like, what the fuck is actually going on.
Absolutely. And then things, people take sort of snippets instead of the full context of what you said. And it just kind of is. I feel like I've hit a place in my life and career where I have learned, like, if I care so much about how I am received, I would stop doing anything at all, right?
How the fuck though, for real, how do you deal with that shit? So when you mention in the book, because this is exactly what it is for me, as I was getting bigger, I read every fucking comment. It was awesome. It was a love fest. And I used to tell people, go look at our comments. YouTube is known for like these crazy fucking vitriolic, bitter comments. And our comments are loving and it's uplifting and they're connecting with each other. It's so great. And then we hit 1 million. And motherfuckers lost their mind. And it devolved into the standard stuff. And so I was just like, cool, I will put my thing out. I will do my best to like bring value. And then it is what it is once it hits the world. But then people say shit like, fuck, man, I'm so sorry for what they're saying about you on Facebook. And you're like, what the fuck are they saying? Like,
Linda,
I was fine.
Don't send me that text. I actually had to probably 3 or 4 months ago, I sent a group text to all of my closest friends. And I said, I so appreciate and love you. I do not consume comments on social media. When people say awful things, I don't know. The tree is falling in the forest. I am not around to hear it. Until you send me a text and say, the thing was, the worst than like, oh no, what they're saying about you on social is people who will send a text and be like, hey girl, thinking about you. And I'm like, oh no, now they're saying without saying. So I really, truly don't consume it. I do the absolute best thing, and I hate to even say this because I'm gonna like give attention to it, but this is really funny. And I will tell you that I have laughed like uproariously, crying laughter so many times in the last 6 months at how awful life is. Like, it's just so hard that I have to laugh or I'm gonna cry. And I had this day, it was our first or maybe second divorce meeting, which is number one in this world. You do that on Zoom.
Oh God.
So we're doing something called a collaborative divorce, which is the best possible thing you can do if you have kids. So our attorneys work together, and then we have like a mediator, a financial mediator, a therapist. Like, it's a whole group thing, right? But even then, those are really hard meetings. And they're much better now, but at the very beginning, it was fucking brutal. Like, just the worst 2 hours ever. Just awful. And I get off this call, and they had told me in advance, they said, you know, make sure you block out about 90 minutes after these calls, which is like, good grief. Like, do you know how much time divorce takes? Like 2 hours for the meeting plus 90 minutes. Cause they were like, you are not going to be in a place where you can go have a meeting right after this. And I was like, calm down. We're fine. Like no, they're 100% right.
Wow.
And so I get off this Zoom call, and I'm just like a mess, a puddle, like devastated. And I think, I'm like, I need something. Like, I need to hear a motivational speech. I need something that, and then I thought, I wonder if anybody has ever created videos on YouTube for people who are going through divorce.
Of course.
They're awful, by the way.
Really?
But I thought maybe there's something on YouTube I could find that would just, hey, if you're going through divorce,
Yeah.
like it's Tom Bilyeu being like, listen, motherfucker, you're going to survive, right? That's what I needed.
need to create
Next
that
time I'll
video.
just call
Yeah.
you, be like, Tom, tape this for me. But I go on YouTube to look and I like can't, I'm like, these are terrible, terrible, terrible. And then YouTube suggests a video that's something like all of the reasons why Rachel Hollis is awful.
Lovely.
And it has hundreds of
terrible.
thousands of views.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's recommended to me. And I'm like, oh, wow. And at that moment, you have to laugh. Now, I don't know what it was. I'm not going to watch that. I'm sure
Right.
there's tons of stuff like that on the internet. But in that moment, it's like, you're just like, I'm already on the ground. Like, I can't take any more kicks. And incidentally, because I want to like, you know me, and I want to like bring this story back up because that's just the worst. I had an appointment, I think later that day or maybe the next day, this is very hippie of me, Tom, but I started seeing an energy healer.
Oh, shit.
Oh my fucking
This is
God.
really hippie.
Like, if you come to Austin someday when the world is good again, you have to.
What do they do?
It's like nothing I've ever experienced, and everything that I'm about to say defies anything a preacher's daughter would ever have been allowed to think was okay. But I say energy healing, but it's not like Reiki. She doesn't use her hands or anything. Like, I would be like laying there on the bed or whatever, and then she's sitting in a chair and you're talking through. She'll be like,
It's a therapist?
no,
But-
no.
Okay.
It's a healer. So literally you're sitting there and she'll just be like, what happened when you were 6?
Really?
I can't even do this with a
and
straight
she's
face.
saying, like, I'm seeing energy coming off of you.
100%. She like literally, she's like counting, like she's 1, 2, 3, 6. What happened when you were 6? And I swear to you, I have sent so many friends, employees, like so many people to her. None of us have the same story. None of us have the same experience. Everybody bawls their eyeballs out.
Do you know what cold reading is?
No.
I actually considered getting really good at this. So
Okay.
there was a period in my life where I got really into magic. And
I'm not surprised.
as I got into magic, I got really into mentalism.
Okay.
And mentalism is fucking extraordinary.
Yes.
And there were these 2 mentalists that were so good. One of them's, his stage name anyway, is Banachek. I forget what his real name is. But they went to these university professors and convinced them that they had real psychic abilities. So imagine, they have set up a real test to see if psychic abilities are real.
Okay.
And these guys are so good at mentalism that they were able, which is all it's magic in that it's fake. It is all just, they figure shit out, they know how to read people, all that.
That's wild.
And they
'Cause
were
I've seen
so
that. I've seen a
good.
mentalist before and it tripped me
It's
out.
fucking incredible.
I didn't
It's
know
the
it was
most-
fake though. I
all
literally
fake.
thought they were psychic.
All fake, all
Whoa.
fake, all fake, all fake. So cold reading is the ability to, I know you've seen ghosts because you mentioned it in the book.
Yep.
So Otome
Yes.
is
Yeah.
doing cold reading.
Right.
so
So she's like she's like vibing out.
Correct.
Like you, okay.
And you pick up on things and you suggest something
Right.
and it's like, tell me about when you were 6. No, 7.
Right.
And, because you didn't react to 6, but you do
Right.
react to 7. So then they're like, okay,
Well,
cool.
so what is wild is that it's like, first of all, I'm not even looking at her. So I'm like laying on a bed. I'm looking at the ceiling or whatever.
Right.
And she'll say like, what happened at 6? And what's amazing is like, it's therapy. Because whatever you're about to say is what you needed to talk about, right? And she doesn't then supply like, oh, it's this, or she's not saying like, oh, your great-grandfather's here and he's coming back from the whatever. She's like, what happened at 6? And what I found was every age that she would talk through, my first instinct would be like, nothing. And I think most of us, some girlfriends have similar stories to me. So if you have trauma in your childhood, I know very specifically, if I go see a psychic, if I'm doing an energy healing, what I assume she's going to say is what happened at 14, which is when my brother died.
Right, sure.
That's not a conversation we have. So it's like, what happened at 6? And then you're like, oh, nothing. I mean, I guess I'm going into, I guess that was like first grade, and then and I start talking, and I am not emotive with people I do not know. Like there's a handful of people that I feel where I would feel comfortable being emotional or breaking down, crying, whatever. And that was the first question she asked me. And I'm like, well, that was when, and I'm realizing, oh, that's when our family lived out in the country. And this sounds like so silly if you know the town I grew up in, but like we moved to the big city. So we moved from like out in the country to still pretty hicky, but like the big city for us.
Right.
And it was better schools, and there was like a million reasons why my parents made the choice. But she said, what happened when you were 6? And I said, oh, that's when we moved. And I'm tired. I'm like, and we moved away from grandma and grandpa, and I'm like saying all this, and I just start sobbing. And like I didn't know that was something that I had carried as upset. And of course it did, because I was so close to my grandparents and all our family was there, and we had land, and like you run and play, and now I'm living in a cul-de-sac with like track houses and like all of these things that I lost. And it was this incredible experience. So you do this with different ages of your life. But she says, all right, your subconscious does not know the difference between what really happened and what you imagine. And so what I want you to do right now is I want you to imagine that you, 37-year-old Rachel, mother of 4, is with 6-year-old baby Rach. What do you need to show her? Like, what could you show the 6-year-old version of you that would heal this thing that feels painful? And with this process, I've learned that like whatever the first thing that pops into your head, it starts to just come from a like not conscious place. And I had just moved into my new house, and it was totally empty, trying to move in COVID, no furniture, sleeping on the floor, the whole thing, which had been this felt pretty traumatic, which is a whole other thing, to just like move out of your house and like not have anywhere for your kids to sit down, and like is a whole thing. But she said, what do you need to show 6-year-old you? And I'm like bawling, and I'm like, we got back to the country.
Wow.
Because I live out in Texas in the country, right? And that, I don't know any other thing to call it except an energy healing. She's not sort of like touching you or whatever, but it's like 6 months of therapy in an hour. And it's beautiful because it's just stuff you want to talk about.
Right.
She's not like, being like the psychic and ghost.
Well, it's interesting because that is, and I'll give her all the benefit of like, she comes from a beautiful place, and
Yes.
I'm not impugning any negative emotions whatsoever.
Right.
But that's like cold reading at its finest
100%.
in terms of asking an open-ended question.
Right.
And then
And
at
then
first
you
you're
leading.
like, nothing, well, actually, and then
Something.
you find
Right.
this thing to
Right.
give meaning to.
Which feels to me like I'm so fine with. Like if it
Yeah, if
really
it works,
is
like, who
this
gives a
like
shit?
intuition, because I also think I know I can do this with, have done it at events. And I was like, don't you feel like you do that with people?
Not cold reading, but definitely.
You can sort of see like.
You do an example in your book of when you said, oh, I wish I had said this to the couple, and you go into like
Right.
a ton of detail about
Right.
what you were seeing, and I was like, I know exactly what you're talking
Okay.
about. You're picking up on cues, the way they say
Right.
something, the way they look at each other,
Right.
the distance they keep, all
Right.
that, 100%.
Okay.
I would be able to read the situation
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah. So I feel like I can do that with people, and I just assume it's because I listen to my intuition, and I feel like I talk to people so much. I work with
Define
people.
intuition for me. This is something, my wife is writing a story right now called
Right.
Wish Academy. Shout out to my wife and her
Hello.
first fiction piece.
Yes, girl.
And in it, they're dealing with like superpowers, kind of superpowers. And there was this whole argument because the girl's superpower is intuition. And I said, intuition is not a thing. Intuition is situationally dependent. So you have psychic
What?
ability. So check it out. I will prove it to you. It's what I call the basketball problem, which how fucking ironic, since in your book, for some weird ass reason, you go into this whole thing about basketball.
Even though I don't know
You're
anything
like,
about it.
I know fuck all about basketball, but here it is. Let's do it. The basketball problem, which is totally randomly named, is if I once played a pickup game of basketball with a former NBA player.
Okay.
And it was so hilarious. I was laughing so hard because he'd be like, you're about to go left. And I couldn't stop myself. He was right. I was going to go left. He's like, you're going to shoot over here. And he would step before I would step, and he'd just put his hand up and I'd hit it with the ball. He would call shit. It was fucking hilarious. And at the end of the game, I'm like, how? Like, were you just mind tricking me? And by saying it, you made me do it? And he's like, no. All has to do with the position of your feet. He said, when you play as much as I have played, and you watch as much tape as I have watched, you don't even have to like really look. In chess, they call it chunking. Grandmasters in chess can look at a board and tell you where the game is at, not because they're looking at individual pieces. They can take a whole board at once. They've just played so much. That's intuition. It's fucking trained, but it is really specific to a given arena. You're inhumanly good with people because you've spent so much time. One, you probably have just a disposition for it. Yeah. You're empathetic, you're self-aware. And then on top of that, you fucking trained the life out of it. You were a party planner. You did hundreds of weddings, dealing with brides. Like the number of things that you would do to learn how to read somebody.
I don't have intuition about dogs.
Correct.
Or dolphins.
And that was my thing. If you take that basketball player and then put them into dolphin training, they're not going to know what the fuck is up. They're going to have zero intuition.
Tom.
It's no less powerful. It's just when you understand intuition is not some God-given thing. You fucking train the shit out of it. So if you want to get intuition, you can, but you're going to have to clock the hours in something very specific, which to me is your whole message. Is like, hey girl, you might be stuck now, but you don't have to be stuck forever.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's really interesting because I feel like I would describe it as you get this feeling, you get this, that like you meet a person and everybody loves this person. You're like, that guy's a sleazeball. Like, I don't know what it is.
It comes as a feeling?
Please tell me.
So the subconscious is faster and vaster, as I say. Subconscious, like your conscious mind can handle something like 17 variables, right? So it's like, how are they holding their posture? What clothes are they wearing? The shape of their face, the style of their hair. Like you get what they call a thin slice on somebody. But the subconscious can process an inhuman amount of data very rapidly. Like what you see is actually the number of photons reflecting off of a surface in a given wavelength, but you don't take it like that. You just fucking see stuff, right? You can navigate the world, you don't bump into too much shit, you can relate to somebody, you sort of know how they're feeling, all that. So your subconscious mind can't talk to you in conscious language. So the language of the subconscious is emotion. Yeah. So whether you should run from the fucking tiger doesn't come as like, oh, I should probably run. I think it's about to attack me. You're just like, fuck. Yeah. And you bolt. And so it's the only way for you to process that massive amount of information very, very quickly.
This is wild to consider that you could have, like obviously we all know about 10,000 hours and like you become an expert and blah, blah, blah. But I've never thought that you could train to have intuition in another category.
100%.
That is really fascinating.
And because there's enough of it that's sort of pre-programmed, people do think like, oh, this person, like they're intuitive, there's something magical. Right. But once you pull it out of the magical realm, and maybe they really do have, like for me and clearly for you, verbal ability is a thing. Right. And you had to train, and I've heard you talk about how terrified you used to be when you gave a speech, but you fucking did it. Yep. And I'm gonna guess if I put another person randomly selected, maybe you get a 1.3x return in your time and they get a 0.7 return in their time. They can get better.
I see.
But like you may just have a bigger like ability in that thing. So the more you train, right. So Jordan versus me, we could train the same number of hours with the same person and just one, he's taller, bigger hands. Like there's just certain advantages that he has.
Do you think that every person has something?
You want me to be motivational right now, or you want me to be real fucking true?
This is Conversations with Tom.
There are some people that do not meet minimum requirements.
No, what do you mean by minimum requirements?
The US Army will define it as an 83 IQ or higher. If you have an 83 IQ, you can figure something out. You are worth the time and the energy, you'll get good at something. If you're below 83, no matter how many times they teach you, you actually take up more energy than you can give. So every unit of energy put into you, you suck away 1.1 units of energy. So it's a losing endeavor to try to work with that person.
Wow.
I can't tell you how much it fucking pains me, which is why I almost never talk about it. the fact that some people really don't meet minimum requirements, anybody watching this that can navigate YouTube, blah,
Right.
blah, blah, it's like they
You're
all
fine.
do. So I don't even like to think about that. So I'll say, because the number of people watching this that think, oh my God, maybe I fall below minimum requirements, and I promise you they do not, it's just ridiculous, right? So I don't spend a lot of time there. But no, I don't think everybody has something, but I think because we're all like in a video game, since I know your kids play Fortnite.
Yes, they do.
In Fortnite, you don't get to pick your stats, but in some games you do. And you can apply like to their intelligence or their speed, mobility, like whatever. Humans are like that. We all have just a different stat sheet. And so if you happen to also love something that lines up with one of your higher stats, that's a good place to be. And finding that, like for me, finding something like leadership in a company where I could leverage my ability to communicate, that was very powerful. And so when I clicked onto that and thought, ooh, okay, this is a way for me to use this, that's been really advantageous. When I decided to step in front of a camera, that was very conscious. I was like, I am good at anything that involves verbal ability. I should give this a shot and see if I can make it work. So when you can align those things, I think it's super, super powerful.
I'm jumping because you mentioned games.
Yes.
And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, have you read Irresistible?
No, tell me more.
So I kept hearing Rogan talk about this, and I should have brought it because it's in the hotel room right now. It's all about technology and how technology is built to addict us.
Ah, yes.
So, have you seen The Social Dilemma?
I have not.
What? I need to
You're
send you a
life-changing
list.
here,
I
so
mean,
please
okay.
do.
So, I think like a few weeks ago, a new documentary came out on Netflix called The Social Dilemma.
Oh yeah, I
about
saw
social media. Yep, and
the ad.
everybody needs to watch it, especially if you have kids. I wanted to look in the camera, because it is so fucked up. And
about how this shit draws you in, and fucks up your
what's
mind,
so
basically.
fascinating about it is that they are interviewing like employee 4 at Facebook, the guy who invented the like button, the guy who invented endless scroll. So they're interviewing the inventors of social media who are now grappling with the fact that they've
What did I
created
just
Frankenstein.
do? Yeah.
And I love documentary film. It's like my favorite category. I've never seen a documentary where, as it was explaining it, I was like, oh, that's literally happened to me. And how fascinating it is that it's all controlled. Like, I know this sounds so dumb, but I never really understood that not one of us is consuming the same social media.
Isn't that crazy?
And like, there's this part in the documentary where they go on Google, which I think of as like this, encyclopedia.
It's universal.
It's universal.
What you see is what I see.
Right, 100%. So they go onto Google and they type in climate change is. And depending on where you live in the world, it says climate change is real, climate change is happening. And then in a different area, it's like climate change is a lie, climate change is a hoax, climate change is, it's terrifying.
Do you really want to fuck yourself up?
Yes.
Over time, it will begin to tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
That's what fucking freaks me out.
Right.
Because I see this all the time, because when I start researching somebody for an interview, all of a sudden my feed is all that person.
Right.
And so if you start looking at anything, climate change,
Yep.
and you start, is climate change bullshit? Climate change is bullshit.
Right.
And you look up an influencer
rabbit
who
hole.
says climate change is bullshit. Now all of a sudden, Google goes, all right, they just want to see stuff about how climate change is bullshit. Cool, here you go. And so now you get in these death spirals of like, you only hear your side take on the issue.
Well, and this is why we have, I don't know what it's like in other countries, but here in the US, it's so incredibly divisive. There was a time, I was talking to someone about this the other day, like when I was a little girl, I grew up in a really homogenous town. Everybody was Republican, everybody like Christian, white, Republican, whatever. But I say everyone, and then this is gonna make that untrue. But you still had the Democrats over for dinner. And just for clarity's sake, it feels very important. I am the most liberal person on the planet. Just want to be really clear. That's worth looking in the camera for. But my parents still had friends who didn't vote like them, who were in different religions, it was maybe you talk about politics if you wanted like a debate, if you were into it,
Right.
or hey, this is going to be a table where we don't talk about politics, religion, or money because we're going to be whatever. But you always were allowed to coexist. And now we live in this world where if you're not exactly like me, then I have to hate you.
Right.
I have to attack you and tear you down and whatever. And I feel like most of us have seen this over the last couple of years, and we're all going, what's going on? And if you watch that documentary, you're like, oh, this is what's going on. Because they are showing, me as a liberal, the absolute worst of the right wing, and they are showing right wing the absolute worst of the liberals. So we're like, oh my, they're over there clubbing baby seals. Tom, we gotta vote this out. They're gonna burn down the world when it's wild. So Social Dilemma, you have to watch that one. Irresistible is the book, which is more specifically about technology. And he goes into, he digs a lot into addiction, what causes an addiction. And the reason I thought of gaming is they're talking about World of Warcraft, which is notoriously, I did not know this, but is notoriously like, people are like living in rehab centers. Do you know this?
I didn't know they lived in rehab centers for that game, but I knew that it sucked people's lives
Yeah,
away.
so it's the most addictive video game in the world, according to this book. And it lists the reasons why. So he goes through this is what causes an addiction, and this is what it is about this game that makes, apparently the joke with parents is this is the heroin of video games. You never let your kids touch this game.
Not even once.
Right, not even once. So I thought that was super fascinating. I feel like you would love that book. But, there was a very specific part. Okay, so this is my question for you. I almost texted you. I was like, no, let's have this conversation on camera. Do you feel like it's possible to get addicted to something that is good for you? And if so, how do you hack that? So in the book, he describes addiction. He's basically saying there are very specific factors that contribute to addiction, like true addictive behavior. And he's talking to a scientist who says, I could kidnap you, Tom, and I could tie you up, and I could inject heroin into you every day for 6 months.
I'd rather you didn't, but
right,
sure.
Yes. But if you were to get away from that environment, you would have to detox from what just happened to you. But it's not an addiction unless you start doing it to yourself. So I'm gonna butcher this, but it's basically it can only become an addiction if it is helping you to numb something painful.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, well, people do get addicted to good things, but is there a way to decide I'm going to get addicted to working out, running, whatever, do something that could be good for me, though I suppose if you are truly addicted to it, the whole point is that it's going to become bad.
Right.
But could you hack that? Have you ever thought about this?
Yes,
How do you hack it?
And you certainly can. Now, whether to truly answer your question, we'd have to really define addiction. So if you define addiction as something that you do even though it's destroying your life, which is sort of the generally accepted answer, then I would say you can. It then sort of defeats your question though, and that it's no longer good for you. But
so let me twist it then. Instead of saying addiction, how do you make yourself crave?
Yes. Now you're playing my game over here.
How do you make yourself crave doing a thing you should be doing, but you currently don't like doing it?
So I've been asked this question before, and I've actually lived the answer.
Okay.
So if you said, hey, you've got this person, some part of their life is out of control, and you absolutely have to get them of your own volition. Like they say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So you're better off just trying to make them thirsty. And so the question is, how do you make somebody thirsty? And the way that you make somebody really fucking thirsty, if I had somebody, I would take them, put them on a desert island with people that are amazing at whatever their thing is that they're trying. So let's say that they're obese and they really want to shake that and they want to get into amazing shape, but they've struggled and they've yo-yo dieted their whole life. Put them on an island. Let them have access to the worst fucking food imaginable. So on the desert island, they've just ding-dongs, cakes, pies, candy, anything they want. But the only other people on that island are the hardest core motherfuckers ever. And those guys all act and think alike. And now as a social creature, I promise you, in a very short timeline, that person will want the approval of that group to the point where they will immediately fall in line with what they're doing, as long as what they're doing actually adds benefit. So because working out and eating right actually does make you feel better, that motherfucker would get in line so fucking fast because we want the admiration. This is why it is, as a social animal, it is so fucking sinister what happens with social media. And the reason that I can't go fuck with comments, I'm not a guy who's like, that I care deeply about what other people think, and it's easy for me to get out of that, but I'm a fucking social animal, and so when I see a video against me with 100,000 views, it's like, that fucking sucks.
Right.
Now, you've got the mechanisms to deal with it and all that. But anyway, we all have it. We all have that hardwired programming. So if we're 50% hardwired and we're 50% malleable, the 50% that's fucking hardwired is going to suck, even though the malleable part goes, look, you can't take it seriously. They're all dealing with their own pain. Somebody that would lash out at you like that is going through something so gnarly that you should probably feel bad for them rather than be wounded by what they say.
Right.
Cool. I know how to cope with it, but it's still not fun.
Right.
So as leveraging that innate driver that I know everyone has to get the admiration of the group, when they have nowhere else to go, of people that are dragging them down, other people that have all the negative behaviors and are celebrating them for that and all that, that will work, not 90% of the time, not 99% of the time. That will work 100% of the time.
And how did you live this?
Because that's exactly what happened to me as a budding entrepreneur. So you have this guy, he's a filmmaker, he's teaching film, happens to run into these two entrepreneurs, very successful guys, and I'm condensing a very long timeline.
Yeah.
And they say, you're coming to the world with your hand out. If you want to control the art, you have to control the resources, come with us and get rich. Yay, that sounds amazing. Think it's going to take 18 months. I get into that environment and they were making fun of me. So one, I thought they were amazing. So it starts with that. I was enamored with what they'd accomplished in life. They were jacked at a time when I had zero muscle mass. They were rich and successful. And I was just like, oh my God, these guys are fucking, and they were smart. So I was like, they're fucking amazing. So I wanted their admiration. And then they would tease me. How fucking slow do you walk? How long does it take you to get out of a car?
You guys, if you're
Tom
walking,
is still fucking peeing. Can you believe this fucking guy is still peeing? This is crazy.
This is crazy. Wait, you have to tell this story. They used to time your pee.
Not even time. You were racing. So you would walk into the bathroom. You were unzipping as you got to the stall. You're trying to relax your bladder so that you didn't pee on your jeans, but there wasn't even a moment's hesitation.
Because you don't want to waste any time.
So here's what it really came down to. This is true. You can tell how many successful patents are filed in a city by the rate at which people walk 20 yards on a sidewalk.
Say this again. You've told me this before.
The rate that people walk a 20-yard distance on a sidewalk is directly correlated to the number of successful patents filed in that same area. There is something to speeding up your life. And I can feel it happen. Like even right now, I can feel I'm now thinking faster because we're really on to something that we're clicking. And when you live in that zone as much as you can, which is why you were one of my favorite fucking human beings, and it's a part we have to talk about. People they don't see this side, you don't big up this side of you, like just the fucking diehard entrepreneur that you are. And when we're in a yurt and we're fucking talking crazy shit about like what we're gonna build and all that, it's awesome to see that side of you. So there is just something to speeding up, wanting more, going for it. And if you can love the process, like to not feel the tyranny of having to pee fast, which is what people hear when I tell the story, but instead it's like a brotherhood like I had never experienced. It was so fun. And just our playing football in the front yard was things like how fast can you walk? How quickly can you get out of the car? Can you pee faster than the other guy? How quickly can you eat your meal and get back to work? It was fun. And we were having such a good time, but we were also building businesses. And it just so happened that you were able to leverage that intensity, that joy for life, but that intensity, getting better at something, always pushing yourself. Like every morning, I just started this recently, but every morning now I do breath work and I'm trying to extend the length of time that I can go on only 5 breaths. That is so fun. It's only fun though, because I get it like go longer and longer and like push it and I track my times and I see how it's like, going and I'm getting better at something. But because skills stack, when you get better at something, and then you get better at something else, and you get better at something else, and better at something else, all of a sudden you look over your shoulder and it's like, where the fuck did everybody go?
Right.
Because they didn't get excited about walking faster, getting out of the car faster, peeing faster. And so they never like made these demands on themselves.
Right.
So when you get in that group of people you admire and you want to impress, and they're doing things that are actually beneficial to you, and that was the other thing. They worked out, they ate right, so I started going to the gym hardcore, I started eating right, and it just completely changed my life. And it was amazing. And that's why at Impact Theory, I'm so diehard about the culture. And we have a culture document that you have to acknowledge when you sign your thing to be a part of the company. And it's basically like, we only want the hardest core motherfuckers ever. And if that's not you, fair enough, but this is not the company for you.
Right. Do you lose people in the process because of
Yes.
that? Which is good.
Which is
Because you're like,
beyond
yeah,
measure good.
you opt yourself out of this. That's so good. I was wondering too, as you were saying that, I was also thinking like this idea of you put yourself into community, or if you put yourself into community with people that you admire, and you will make that switch. And as you're talking, I'm like, yeah, I can see how I've done that in my life. But I was also thinking what you had rules. So they were like stupid rules y'all made up. How fast can you whip it
Yes.
out so you can pee, right? But you had rules.
Yep.
And you had competition.
Yeah.
So have you ever broken it down to see if there was more than just
yes.
the community? Of course
This
you
was
have.
the book that I was writing and have since abandoned. For
Why?
all ye give up hope, or whatever the phrase is.
Yes.
I will not regret on my deathbed not writing a book. On my deathbed, I will regret not writing a film.
Yes,
And-
that is real. I know that about you.
Which is yet another thing that I find fascinating about you, is that you also started in fiction, which
Yep.
is where I started. And when I say, other than time with my wife, which trumps everything, which is why it's so easy to make her my number one priority, beyond that, there is no joy that I get quite like creating a character in a world from nothing, and then having somebody go, yo, that character really fucking impacted me.
Yeah.
That, I don't know why that means more to me than the nonfiction words that I say, but it does. And the process is way more enjoyable, because the nonfiction stuff, I was like, I've already said this in videos like a bazillion times.
Right.
And so now you're just making me write it in a fucking book. Like,
Right.
just go watch the video. And it became very real, because I turned down a 7-figure book deal, and all I had to do was translate things I have already said
Right.
onto the fucking page. And I was like, every minute that I spend on this, I'm not writing a screenplay or a comic book. And I will regret that.
I wondered too, as you were just saying that it feels like the difference between sort of the nonfiction space and the things like what you know in terms of personal development or how to think or mindset is architecture. Like, you built that. You took materials that existed and you built something. But writing a script is painting. It's creating something from
interesting.
absolutely nothing.
And you get to live in it,
Right.
which is
Are
really
your
fucking interesting.
characters alive in your head?
Yes.
Characters you've never written down?
Yeah.
Me too. And my dad is a writer as well, and he would always say that his worst fear was that he would die and characters would die with him. That he
Fuck.
didn't like write them
That
down
gave me
fast
chills.
enough, right?
Yeah.
And I think that I have books that I've been writing in my head for a decade. And I'm like, we're not ready yet. But I'll be waiting in line at the grocery store, and I'm like, and then what if she...
Oh, you've told me one of these
Right.
stories, by the way.
Some freaking day, man. It makes no sense, but
No,
it
for
makes
sure.
sense to me.
So going back to your question, the book that I was going to write is, what are those things that construct a person?
Right.
So if you're 50% just hardwired, it just is what it is, and nothing you're going to be able to do to change it, what are the elements that make up the 50% that's malleable? And in a rough nutshell, it's values, beliefs, rules, habits, identity. Those are the big ones. And then there's a couple of little offshoots, but those are the big ones.
What's the difference between values and beliefs?
So a belief is something that I think I should do. So I should, or even better than a I should statement, it would be something like human potential is nearly limitless, or that the human animal is the ultimate adaptation machine. You choose to believe it. And I think you choose to believe it because it's true, There's only one belief that is just patently false, and that's you can do anything you set your mind to without limitation. And so that I think is like number 5. And then the number 5 is a lie, but it's an empowering lie. And we do and believe that which moves us towards our goals. So people are so much more likely to believe something negative that I'm always just trying to like nudge them. Look, yes, you have limitations without question. Nobody ever got all the way to the edge of their potential and then was like, oh, there really is nothing more to me. Right. So like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about the upper limit, which is what people jump to. I can never do that. Fucking, you don't even know. Right. Will you go try and then trust me, you'll be getting better and better day after day and you will die long before you max out.
Have you ever heard that Arnold Schwarzenegger quote?
No.
Where people would always say like, oh, I don't want to work out because like, I don't want to look like you. Oh my God, yes. And he was like, don't worry, you won't.
That is one of the greatest quotes.
Right? Right? Sorry, that what you're saying reminded me of that.
That quote is powerful. Do you know that I'm blacklisted by Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Why?
True words. So I had a guy who I knew through comic books, and I was like, man, I really want to get Schwarzenegger on the show one day. He's like, I know him. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. He was like, oh dude, no problem. I'll put in a word and see if he'll come on the show. And so we sent him an email and he got a response back saying, anybody that uses his email to solicit something, we blacklist, and so do not contact us again. So I was like, oh shit.
Oh no.
I didn't even know he was gonna do it, but so alas. But it was so sweet of him to reach out on my behalf. Like, I'm not gonna be like, dude, I can't believe you did this. Right. So I still am grateful to him for reaching out, but I have been blacklisted.
That is really funny, but it feels like there's a way. This is your limiting belief.
No. I will have Schwarzenegger on the show. I've already got, oh
my gosh,
other potential ways, but I am.
So wait, belief you said, and then what's value?
So value would be you choose to think something is good. So for instance, take competition. You mentioned it. Now everybody hates you because you shouldn't be competitive except against yourself, which you go to great lengths to say.
Absolutely.
I disagree with. I think you should compete with other people as well. And I think if you're afraid of competition, it's because what you have chosen to value in yourself is being better than somebody else, whereas I don't. I don't value myself for being better than somebody else, but I know it's effective to try to beat them because I'm playing the entrepreneurship game. Right. So it's like, I'm trying to win. I'm trying to build the next Disney. Right. It's like, there's only so many dollars funding so many projects. Right. I have to fucking win. Yes. So, but I'm not afraid of that. If I don't win, it doesn't mean I'm a bad person or I'm less valuable. So I'm very careful about what I tie my identity up, my self-esteem, my value as a human being. So be very careful where you line those things up, but understand what actually works. And that's my whole thing. So you talk about, oh, we're living in this world that's divisive and all that. And I'm like, for just once, can we all just go, what's our actual goal? And then what is going to move us towards our goal? So my obsession in life is to get people on that bandwagon. And I'm just saying, when you have a goal and you value your willingness to compete, not your ability to win every time because you won't, but you've chosen to value your willingness to compete and go all out, like that to me actually moves you forward in life because you just become so relentless and you keep trying and experimenting and you find the thing that works and you're so focused on actually achieving something. So anyway, it's just effective. But that was something I chose to value. I didn't have to. In fact, most of my life, I derided competition because I was terrified I couldn't win. So I was just like, oh, that's bullshit. Like, it's such a toxic masculine trait. And now I'm like, it's not. It's super fucking effective. It can become toxic as anything can hit a point.
Tell me like what that looks like though in your life. Like you see someone, like no bullshit. Like you see someone and you're like, I want that number of Instagram followers, or I want that deal, or I want like, what does it really look like that's tangible?
It depends on what it is. So in comic books, I want more subscribers because we're on Webtoon. So I want more subscribers. I want more likes. Mm-hmm. I want more episodes. So I want this to keep going for longer. I want to have more projects. I want to generate more revenue. If I do a Kickstarter, I want my Kickstarter to get more backers and more money. And none of it do I value myself for actually achieving. I value myself for the sincere pursuit. So my thing is I'm trying to be the next Disney. Mm-hmm. It's so big. Am I ever going to make it? They have a 90-year head start. They're going to keep fighting. You know what I mean?
But you're going to live forever, so it feels like it's fine.
This year has been the year where I accept my death.
Wait, what?
Yes.
What? What are you talking about?
Yeah. I don't know what happened,
I love you.
but it stopped being useful for me to think I was going to live forever, and it
Yeah.
started being more useful to accept
Understand
my
that you were
mortality.
going to die.
And
Yeah.
I constantly would check back and forth between the two.
Which one was more powerful?
Yeah, and it had always been more powerful to think that I could live forever because it made me do long-range planning.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say why.
And I'm not entirely sure. It's like, this is something that I will probably talk incessantly about over the next year, because I'm trying to figure out why it suddenly became self-evident that I need to focus on that I will die. I don't yet know why.
Well, I mean, we're living in this crazy, like, there's no world. Well, no, there were like 10 guys who saw this coming. But like most people did not anticipate that we could ever be in the situation that we're in right now. And so that has to make you think, that has to shake the, like.
I don't know if that's where it came from, but why is death, because you talk about it in the book, why
Yeah.
is that useful?
I mean, I've experienced a lot of death in my life. Have you experienced a lot of death?
Not like you have. I thought I
Yeah.
had. And then when you were
Yeah.
like, 4 funerals is not a lot, I was like, what do you mean not a lot?
I've been to so many funerals.
Which, by the way, when you say that, I think, how many people does she know that fucking died? And then you explained that.
Yeah, my
the
dad was a
minister-
pastor.
right.
My granddad was a pastor. In Southern cultures, you go to the funeral. So it was just very normal. Death has always been a part of my life, which doesn't mean that it comes without pain, but it still is just always, it just is. It's like life is not fair, and we only get out of here one way. So I think that asking yourself that question of like, what if I only had a week? What if this is my last day? I actually ask myself that. That's probably the most common thing that I would ask myself. Instead of going like, did I do everything that I could do? Did I like that? I say, if I died today, am I proud of who I am, of the woman that I am? And absolutely. But I'm proud of the woman I am, and it has nothing to do with the business I've built or the fame.
What do you value yourself for?
I'm a really good friend. I have wonderful kids. Now, I don't know, they still got a lot of time to grow, so who knows? But I'm really proud of getting to be, I don't want to say like, I'm really proud, like, because I don't want to say, like, I don't want to take credit for, they're their own little people.
Sure.
I guess even more than like who they are, I'm really proud of how close we are. I think a lot of times I think many people are either running from or trying to recreate maybe the childhood or their family of origin. And for me, I'm proud of creating something that's different. I think one of the most powerful things in my life is that I had the anti-hero in more than one person. And
I gotta ask, who?
both my parents. I love them. And I really, truly believe they did the best they could with what they had. And that still was pretty crap. And it's like it's a hard thing to talk about, because I tried really hard in the book and to not tell their part of the story, but just to tell my experience of that time. But
Specifically in the book, you were talking about your brother's
My-
death, which
yeah.
is fucking gnarly.
right. And my mom's gonna read that when the book comes out, and pretty worried about that moment.
Really? So
Yeah.
it's not like you've had that conversation
No.
already?
No. We don't have that kind of relationship. But I also, it's true. And it was one of those things, I don't want to write about stuff just gratuitously or sort of for entertainment value, but that chapter specifically is I am challenging people who have, or maybe more specifically parents who are fucking failing their children. And I'm saying that, like, I will.
Oh, you didn't pull a fucking punch
No,
in that section.
that you are drowning inside of your own pain or your own loss. You know, you're drowning because of the divorce. You're drowning because you lost your job. You're drowning for whatever reason, and your kids are drowning with you. And most children, myself included, will try and save their parents, or, you know, we learn to perform, we learn to be achievers, we do, you know, what we can to try and like gain love or attention or whatever. But what I say in the book, I tell the story, my older brother committed suicide when I was 14, and I found him. And I say in the book, I have never had a conversation with my parents about what I saw, how it felt. Was I scared? Did I need anything?
That seems crazy.
It's crazy. Like, the amount of conversations I've had with my sons about Fortnite, 1,000. And I have not talked to my parents about, because they were so, and I say this in the book, like, I can't even imagine what it would feel like to have your 17-year-old son take his life. I cannot imagine that. But I know for a fact, there is not a question in my mind that I would not find a way, even if it was bullshit, even if it was fake, to keep showing up for my kids. Like, I can't imagine it. And actually, in doing this work with the cold reader energy healer, it made me think a lot about my childhood. And I went back and I actually this weekend I found like my journals and my diaries from when I was a little girl.
Shit.
And because I was just like, oh, I'm curious. Like, I wanted to see her. When did she get that this was not okay? And from a really early age, like where you can't even spell, I'm writing about, you know, them screaming and like from as a very little, like, it's awful. Like this little tiny little girl diary with like where you would have like a lock and key. And I don't even know how old I was. And I'm like writing like, I'm scared. Like they're screaming. I'm reading this and I'm like, if I found something like this that my child had created, I can't even imagine. And so when I ask myself this question of, you know, if today was the last day, are you proud? Yeah. Not because of any of this sort of worldly stuff, but my kids know they are loved. My kids know they are safe. And I'm living it out right now. Like, I'm going through a divorce that as much as we are this whole thing is about making sure the kids are as okay as they possibly can be. And man, there are days where you just put a smile on your face and you act like, yeah, family dinner sounds like a great idea right now. Like, we're not angry at all. Let's have meatloaf. This is great. Yeah, so that's the question I asked myself. If today was your last day, are you proud?
Me? Mm-hmm. Aggressively. And I
love the way you answer things.
So the thing that I value in myself is sincere pursuit. I found out very early that money couldn't touch how I felt about myself. So I gave up that pursuit early, which I'm very grateful for. So now that I have worldly success, it was like, cool, I already understood what that wouldn't be. I couldn't have 100% predicted what it would be, but I knew what it wouldn't be. And I knew it wouldn't be me suddenly feeling like, oh my God, I matter now.
Right.
And that the willingness to go after big dreams, the willingness to stare nakedly at my inadequacies and like always try to improve, like I'm super proud of that. And I'm super proud of pushing myself to be better. Like those are things that matter to me. And then like this is a weird one little moment among many moments that I would sort of pull on my deathbed and be like, wow, I'm really proud of the way that I handled that. I'm proud that on the day that I became wealthy, like legitimately my bank account changed, Lisa said, "What do you want to do today?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I'm going to work." And I went to work like normal, and that was that. And nobody in the company would ever have been able to tell you what the day was that, you know, the money hit, because it wasn't about that.
Right.
And so that, like those little things where you're true to like the values that you hold and nothing sways you, like those are always the cool moments. But can I tell you what I am proud of about you, or think you should value in yourself?
Okay.
In the chapter where you're talking about parents, like, I'm writing this so if you're drowning right now, that you'll wake up. That's going to alienate some people.
Yeah.
When you told me that you were writing What the Health, I was like, oh, so you want to like piss off half your audience.
Right.
You always say what you think will add value to somebody, and not what is necessarily just going to add value to you financially.
Right.
Which, like, I think about that a lot in terms of there are short-term things that you could do that would make you more money. But,
well, you know what's so funny or fascinating to me is that there was a group of people who were so angry that we're getting divorced. And the rallying cry was that I was fake, that I was a liar. And I was like, this is the most authentic thing I've ever done.
Right.
I am making a choice that will anger an audience, upset our families, break my children's hearts, break my best friend's heart. Like, I am making a choice that will affect my business, that affects the brand, like all of those things. But I have spent my entire career speaking truth of like, you need to live who you are. You need to take ownership of your life. You need to be true to yourself. You need to you should be more, like, I would be a fake if I kept living in a relationship that worked really well in these 4 categories, but was deeply unhealthy over here, just to make everybody happy or just to make more money. Like, all a publisher wants after a book like Girl Wash Your Face is Girl Wash Your Face 2.
Right.
And Girl Wash Your Face 3. Like, that's all that I could have made so much money, and I would have, and God, what a way to live. I can't even.
Why do you, like, why does that matter to you? To put it all at risk. What you've created is really lightning in a bottle. Like, it is rare that I like sort of stutter to say that, oh, I could have that kind of success. Like, when I thought I was going to publish my book, whoo, homie, I didn't dare to dream that it would have like the kind of explosive success that you've had. Are you afraid of golden handcuffs? Is it the notion of what you think about yourself when you're by yourself? Like, what is it that, like, why, like, health?
Right.
You know you're going to piss people off. Like, why go down
I've done
those paths?
A lot of therapy, so I can tell you what I know is that my family life was, I've written about it a ton. It was very hard. The most awful parts about it I will never write down. And from the outside, it was perfect. Preacher's family, everyone looked real cute on Sunday. Mom made sure everyone's hair was braided right. And behind the scenes, it was awful. And I'll be damned if I pretend to be something I'm not. On the Enneagram, which I love. Do you know your Enneagram number?
No, I was like, Enneagram? I don't even know. I've never heard those syllables together.
Tom, I don't even know what?
Are you talking about like INTJ?
No. Enneagram has been around since ancient Greece. It is personal. Oh my God, how have we been friends this long? I feel like I tell people on the street, people at Target, I'm like, do you know your Enneagram number? It's a series of numbers. It's personality types, 1 through 9.
Okay.
That
I have heard you talk about
yes,
this. I just didn't
it's just
remember
like
the Enneagram.
My gosh, I need to know what you are now.
Is there a way to find out?
Yeah, there's a test.
I mean, like right now, or do I have to go online?
You'd have to take a test. I have my theory about what you are, but you're not ever supposed to diagnose someone, so I won't. But I am a 3, which is an achiever. Mm-hmm. We might be the same.
I was going to say that
I'm an achiever, and then everyone has a wing. So it's either the number before you or the number after you. And I'm a 3-4. Okay. A 4 is an individualist.
Interesting.
A 4 cares more about being themselves than being accepted for being themselves. Like, they are who they are. They're the artists. They're the people who have pink hair, when that's like, it matters deeply that you are allowed to be who you are. Individualists don't really feel like they're understood, like nobody truly gets them, whatever. So I'm a 3-4, and I feel my 4 very strong. I feel like you're either a 3-4. I'm not supposed to tell you.
What's a 2-3?
It would 2 be is one a helper.
Of those other ones?
Yeah, you're not a... You help people, but I don't see you as a helper.
I don't know. I'd have to look. So a big driver in my life is, it's true. I don't immediately identify myself as a helper. When I think, though, what some of my driving motivations are, it's definitely to help other people. But at the same time, I am very happy for people to never know it was me, right? So I need to feel like I matter. I need to feel like I have purpose. I need to feel like I'm helping other people. But I don't need it to be up close. I'm not a person who would say, well, as long as I help one person, I can be there in their life and see that reflected back.
Right, and 2s it matters to them that you acknowledge that they helped you.
That does not matter to me.
And so a question that is a good one for this is, what do you think about when you think about things? Like, what's the most common theme?
I don't even know what that means.
So, meaning, I'm an achiever. So what I'm thinking about is the list of all the things that I need. How am I going to do that? And what's that? And, I feel like you're either a 3 or there's a very strong chance that you're an 8, which is the challenger.
Ooh, that's interesting. That I would challenge authority kind of thing?
Anything.
That's interesting. So now I really want to take this thing.
Right.
So I will, I have always had a problem with authority. Maybe to some extent, I could see a world in which that makes sense for me. I will tell you a quick story from my childhood.
Yes, please.
So I was on the freshman basketball team. I was the worst player on the team. Everybody had an outfit that matched except me.
Oh, no.
And I had the outfit from the previous era before they changed.
Oh, man.
So that gives you an idea of how good I was. And we were on the bus, and the freshman team has a different coach, even than the JV, even than the varsity. The varsity coach came on the freshman bus and was like, every one of you guys has something to work on. And I said, even the coaches. And of course I got in trouble. And what an asshole. If I could go back in time and be like, hey, dumbass, you really are the worst person on the fucking team.
Be quiet.
How about you focus getting better and worry about yourself? But that was definitely a huge part of my youth. A big part of why I wanted to get rich was I didn't like that I couldn't have the things that I wanted as a kid. Mm-hmm. So there is a certain amount of rebellion. But when I think about things, I don't think of it from, that's not entirely true. Earlier when you said, oh God, what were you saying? This is the heroin. I think I was going to say, I want to go get addicted to World of Warcraft just to show that I can stop. And I used to joke with people that I'm going to get addicted to heroin just to show people that I can stop.
Oh my gosh.
And I was I always told people, I'm not going to, but there is that element in my personality.
You want to prove it.
I won't deny that. But when I think about things, I think about puzzles. And this puzzle is solvable. And because I believe it's solvable, that's how I approach business. And I've heard you say that about one of the things you love about entrepreneurship is solving the puzzle.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a big thing for me.
This year has felt like the puzzle, it's one of those puzzles that's 5,000 pieces and it's all black. There's no, those puzzles that are all one color. Yeah. That's what this year feels like. It feels like we pivot and we pivot again. And there has been so much stress this year that for the first time ever, I'm just watching it go by. I'm separated from, it's not to say that I don't experience it, but have you ever been in seasons where there's just so much stress that you're like, I literally can't carry one more thing? No?
I have, but I wouldn't describe it the way you're describing it. So I have been...
Do you use adaptogens?
That is a hilarious question. I don't. I've heard of adaptogens, but I don't actually know what they are.
So no. It's my favorite. I basically keep an extra bottle of them in my house. So A nutritionist described adaptogens to me a couple of years ago as like the waves you don't go quite as high or quite as low. And it's like the stress is still there or the anxiety might still pop up, but you're not in it. You're watching it from a distance. I don't know
Sounds meditative.
Right. So I tried a few different ones, and you can get them at a grocery store, like over the counter. There's supplements like anything else. My favorite one is called Holy Basil Leaf. I take a Holy Basil Leaf pill every night of my life, and I swear by it. And in the really hard season, I'll have one in the morning too. I'm very, very sensitive to anything. So for me to say that this doesn't affect me at all and make me tired is a big deal. But the reason I swear by it so much is that one time I ran out. And
you're like fiending, scratching
right,
for where's my basil leaf?
Like, yeah, it was wild, and I just swear by it. So I do think that has been a big part of this year. And
Do you meditate?
No, but I really know that I need to.
Homie, you need to. This is like, okay, so everybody has that person in their life that they love and they can't help. And it just like fucking breaks their heart, and they probably help a lot of other people just because they're so upset they can't help that one person.
Yes.
My wife in meditation. My wife refuses to fucking meditate. She's tried it. And so she did actually recently say that I could sit with her and meditate with her. And
like you would guide her through?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now look, there's almost nothing that I will say is for everyone. Meditation is biological. It is, your body has physiological hooks that move you about from parasympathetic to sympathetic to back. And so like when I do breath work, you won't not get tingly lips and all that stuff if you're breathing in a certain way. You will be able to extend how long you can hold your breath if you like practice getting the CO2 out of your body. And meditation is the same thing. Once you learn how to diaphragm breathe, and then you do it over a long enough period of time, and you just keep gently bringing yourself back to the breath, like for everyone, it will bring background radiation to zero. Now, the more spiritual elements of meditation, I won't speak to. So maybe somebody's overhyped it, and so you sat down to try it, and you're like, I'm not seeing the face of God. What the fuck is this?
I just more have a hard time focusing.
Oh my God, you do meditate. I remember thinking while I was reading your book, you pray like a fucking fiend.
I do.
They literally track the breathing of people in prayer, and it matches accidentally, I mean, just biologically, because the body slips into this breathing, which is 5 breaths per minute. People who meditate or say the Lord's Prayer, whatever it is, they tend to slide into 5 breaths per minute. And then people that are meditating fall into the same breath pattern. So prayer is basic. Prayer is probably closer to what I call thinkitation.
Okay.
Where you have thoughts, you're not trying to empty your mind, but you're in this really thoughtful, contemplative space. You're not trying to go anywhere else.
I see.
You're trying to connect with something.
I see.
So my gut instinct is that, which is why you do it in times of stress.
Yeah.
That you tend to pray a lot at night.
So when you're meditating, you're in that breath, you're just focusing on the breath. Your mind is clear?
My mind wanders constantly, and you gently bring it back to the breath.
Without judgment.
Right. So I have been in legal battles where hundreds of millions of dollars are at stake. And that's about as terrifying as a non-life-threatening thing is going to get. Like just the consequences are so high and they so matter. And in those times, I found that I was never more than 45 minutes away from total equanimity, where 45 minutes before that, I was like, yo, I cannot carry one more thing. Like this is fucking crazy. I can feel, so I have a rule in my life, going back to rules, beliefs, values, identity, all that stuff. I have a rule in my life that I don't tolerate overwhelm. Now, ironically, by telling yourself that you don't tolerate it, you actually pattern interrupt, and that sense of like escalation immediately stops.
Right.
And then I'll meditate, and that keeps me in a physiologically calm place. But it's truly a biological experience. So when I find myself ratcheting up and the stress just fucking crazy, I meditate, and if you're consistent, you can't help but become calm, because the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system are a seesaw. You can't be both elevated and calm at the same time.
Right.
So as you do things physiologically that calm you, that slow your heart rate, that slow your breathing, that slow your mind, you literally can't help but become calm.
I made a decision a few weeks ago, you were talking about rules, and I made a rule. I just like one day I was like, I refuse to hold anxiety for someone else ever again. So I realize, like, I've worked so hard on anxiety in myself, but I realize that I am still, like, if someone at work or, you know, something's happening, whatever, and they're like, Rachel, this is that, and I'm like, okay, oh my gosh, okay, great, let's fix it. And I had this happen recently, and probably because this year has felt like that has happened 100 times, that someone will sort of bring me up to this heightened, crazy state, and then I have to solve the problem and then talk myself back down instead of just solving the problem from down here. And I had this interaction recently where I got off the phone with someone on my team, and I was like, I just absorbed she just like gave it all to me. And I almost feel like she literally like handed me the package, so that then, not consciously, but so that then now it's like, okay, hot potato. Now you hold this anxiety. And the other day I thought, this is a choice. Like and I'm not saying that I could snap my fingers and it's that fast, but just making the conscious decision of exactly what you just said, make it a rule. And in the week since I made this choice, and I'm like, nope, we don't do this anymore. We won't hold anxiety for them. You have enough things in your life that might give you anxiety. You're not going to hold this space for this person.
Yeah, I think people underutilize rules. That's one of those, like, people ask me a lot of times, you know, how do I do this thing? How do I stick with it or whatever? And it's like, well, at some point it really does come down to you either do it or you don't.
Right.
And at some point you have to have made a line in the sand and you either cross it or you don't. And I'm all for people building up to that. Like, one of the most important rules in my life, and I can tell when I say this to people that it's not an issue for them, so they don't recognize, like, I'm telling you, like, one of my deepest, darkest, shameful things, which is I have a rule that I get out of bed in 10 minutes or less. Because there was a period of my life where I would lay in bed for 4 and 5 hours at a time.
Wow.
There was a time in my life where I was on unemployment and I played video games in bed for 10 hours a day.
Right.
I mean, it was crazy.
Right.
And because it's like time I will never get back, and now that efficiency has become so important to me that I really do mourn the loss of that time. And it's really embarrassing to think back to, you know, how long I would sit and lay in bed. So I had to just put a rule in my life. You get out of bed in 10 minutes or less. That's it. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no way around it. And it got to the point where I would be so hardcore that if my feet touched the ground and it clicked over to the 11th minute before I stood up, I would confess it to Lisa and be like, I didn't get out of bed in less than 10 minutes today.
Wow.
But that was really important to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of this stuff is blocking and tackling. Like, it's pretty basic shit. It's saying, I'm not going to hold somebody's
But do you
anxiety.
feel like you had to have the emotional leverage of shame for that to
God, now
click?
you really get into the fucking crazy stuff. Like, and this is, yes, like, people are afraid to use the dark side. And that's like, so now I want to get into you as an entrepreneur.
Right.
You've written about it. You've
Yeah.
talked about it.
Yeah.
Do people really understand how hardcore you are?
No.
Do you want them to understand how hardcore you are?
You know, it's interesting. About 18 months ago, maybe a year ago, I was like, why don't female entrepreneurs who have achieved incredible success talk about it? Why did, it was, this is a conversation we need to have too, is like the sexiest thing in the whole world in 2019 was to be an entrepreneur and like be on the private jet and like have the cool car and, do the thing. Like we know all the people who do this thing, and it was really cool, especially if you had a following of like 19-year-old dudes who love that and want to see that. And I love Gary Vee. Love it. Show me all the things. Travel around the world, be in meetings all day. I'm here for it. But I thought, this is crazy. Why doesn't anyone show women? And why doesn't Oprah talk about the fact that she's worth $2 billion? Right. Or, Sarah Blakely, who I adore, and her masterclass is so good. It's my favorite masterclass. But she's pretty demure about the fact that she invented something and built a $1 billion company, and Warren Buffett is her mentor, and like, incredible. Like, where's the film crew following her around and showing women like me what that looks like when you have 4 kids? Because she does. So I just kept wondering, and then I thought, nobody's doing this. I'll do it. I'll say that I've made millions. I'll say that I have this company. I'll say that I've done these things, and I'll say how many books I've sold, and I'll say this stuff. And man, you could flip a switch to the videos, like all of the things that are wrong with Rachel Hollis. Because it's okay when guys do it. But I don't think that culturally something happens when a woman claims success. And I don't know if it's all success or just success in the business arena, because it's not typically a place that maybe you see women having massive success. But within 6 months, I was like, oh, this is why they don't talk about it.
So I actually understand. I'm not vouching for it. I understand why guys aren't necessarily going to be turned on by it. So I lived my wife going from a housewife and cook my meals and set out my clothes and be sexy for your husband and all of that to becoming a savage entrepreneur.
Right.
And being the hardest core motherfucker. She is upsetting me as the boss is like one thing. Don't fucking piss off Lisa. She will hold your ass accountable in a way you did not know you could be held accountable.
Right.
She makes me uncomfortable sometimes. I'm like, God damn. Like she is 100% a savage. So I get why some guys be like, whoa, like that's some intimidating shit. I want to go club
it wasn't the guys
fucking
who had a problem
lion.
with it.
Right. But women go fucking hard. What the fuck? I want to know, like, what's that triggering?
I think from the time we're little, we're taught to compete with other women. And we're taught to, talk about rules. We're taught that these are like our family of origin or our religion or the place that we grew up in the world says these are the guardrails you're allowed to be inside of. And God forbid another girl steps outside of those guardrails. Number one, we're taught to tease her, we're taught to ostracize her, we're taught to do things to let her know that she stepped outside the norm. But the only thing worse than that girl stepping outside the norm is her stepping outside the norm and having success at it. It's like I imagine being back in middle school where there was like, these were the popular girls, they were cheerleaders, they were blonde, they were whatever. And then it became cool to be goth. And then like I remember there was a cheerleader in my middle school, blonde, whatever, who just like, who knows what was going on at home, like shaved her head, pixie cut, black hair, coal eye, like full goth, right?
Whoa.
And everyone talked shit. And it was like, oh, like whatever, she got made fun of, whatever. But you know who thought that was hot? The guys. So even worse than her stepping outside of what was allowed was she had success at it. So now not only are we going to talk shit, but now she's a target. Now we actually need to see what we could do to break her down completely. And I think that that's what happens. It's like just, there's room enough for all of us to just be who we are. But there's something about someone that you identified with in some way, either because you're a mom too, or because you are a woman of faith too, or because you followed me when I was a food blogger, whatever, right? You identified with me in some way. And now I've done something that has stepped outside of what you consider normal, and I've had success at it. And that, truthfully, challenges where you are.
Well, now let's push it even farther. So, because when you blow up with Girl Wash Your Face and it was like, I peed my pants, and it was this, like, you really showing the vulnerability.
Sure.
People were Team Rachel. It's only
100%.
when you start talking about being a savage and making all this money, and then
all day.
Then it's like, what's weird to me is that they don't realize that both sides of that coin are true.
Same person.
Right.
And we're both, right?
But that's rad to me. Like being a hardcore motherfucker. And every now and then I think, what is the book that like feels so important to me that I would put it up there with writing fiction content? Right. And every now and then I sort of circle around this idea of being a hardcore motherfucker. And to my potential position as a number 8 challenger,
right.
when people react negatively to me talking about being hardcore, go hardcore,
Right.
like get after it, get
Right.
better every fucking day, not
Right.
just about you against the fucking world,
Right.
like take it over. And the more people tell me to calm down, like the more I want to go
like,
and get
let's
hyped.
go.
And I'm like, it fucking works.
Right.
People build shit because they're hardcore. They overcome obstacles. They keep going and pushing. And it's oh God, there's a quote, I forget who it's by, but it goes something like this. Progress, the reasonable man bends to the will of the world. The unreasonable man bends the world to his will. Therefore, all progress will come only to the unreasonable man. The actual quote is fucking more slick than that. But oh my God, like I can feel myself want to just be unreasonable because it's like, yes, I want to bend the world to my will. I don't understand why people don't get intoxicated by that idea like I do.
I mean, I love being around you because I love when you start this because I'm like, yes, yeah, go. And it's super important and it fires me up because it's not something that I get to interact with all the time. That's why I literally am going on YouTube. Like I'm gonna go watch. I will watch. Like you are my friend. I could call you and be like, Tom, FaceTime me and like tell me to be strong or whatever. But I will go watch keynotes or I'll go listen because it's like you need that state creating moment of like being reminded like you might be a freak, but there's other freaks like you, right? Because I don't feel like I'm normal. And it is very hard to find, for sure, not other women who are like me or think like me. And I'm not saying like, I'm more that I have not yet met another female entrepreneur who's also trying to be a great mom. Like, how do you do both and fucking kill this, but also kill this? Right. And I believe that it's possible. But in the same way that you're like coming at yourself and like, I'm gonna go build Disney, whatever, I'm gonna do both of those really well. And the world constantly tries to tell me that that's impossible. Like, they tell me constantly that doing one of those things sacrifices the other, and I just don't believe it's true.
The fun of Rachel Hollis to me is that you keep going. And even I look sometimes and I think there's some 8 in you, for sure. Like, I know some of your secret dreams that you haven't talked about. They're fucking awesome.
Right.
And that I know I can count on you to not stop, to just keep going. You may or may not accomplish it, right? They're fucking big, they're crazy, they're amazing. I never value somebody for whether they actually achieve it. I value them for like, are you really going for it? Or is this rhetoric?
Right.
Or is this something you really show up every day and fucking play to win?
Right.
And I think it's rad. So having lived through Lisa's transformation and seeing how awesome it is now to have a wife who is truly my peer as an entrepreneur, and how fucking rad that is. And now as hardcore as I go, she's going hardcore, and not in a toxic way. Like, she's very good about like, hey, like I need to back off right now or whatever. And she's very good about that because she's had struggles with her health and stuff. But that's fucking fun. And I just want to see other people be celebrated for like the way that they can bend the world to their will and the things that they can create. It's so inspiring. Like, even if all your like go-getting inspires somebody to do is be like the greatest ping pong player of all time 100%. Or the greatest mom of all time.
Absolutely.
Like, what I'm fucking
I don't care what the goal is. I mean, you said this earlier, and this is my belief too. I don't care what the goal is, but you got to have a goal. I don't care if the goal is you want to make the best jalapeno cheddar cornbread on the planet. Truly. The magic happens in the pursuit. You become who you're meant to be in the pursuit of something. So many people are stuck. So many people are like, don't know how to, it's like, do something, do anything, aim at anything right now, because at least that will give you some direction to head in. I do have a theory though. Please. You want to hear my theory?
Of course.
So I'm going to do this backwards. So I built a company, right? I built this company that has been very successful, and even in 2020, and even in what that means with the economy, and like until we can get back to a place where we can do events, all of those things, I'm going to continue to run a company that's successful. But I keep thinking about The Rock or Oprah or Reese Witherspoon, or name the celebrity who has built companies, but it felt allowed for them to have a company because they had celebrity. So they almost like earned your attention in a way that was accepted, and then they sold you stuff, right? Like, I love him. He's like my favorite human. All The Rock does right now is sell you tequila. That's all he does. Delicious tequila, by the way. I don't know if you drink tequila. It's actually really good. He sent me some. I don't know if you heard, but it's fine. It's fine. We're basically best friends. It's fine. No, we're not. He doesn't know who I am. It's like, this is my theory, is that I'm going to do it backwards now. It's like I built the company and the infrastructure is obviously there. And then I'm going to go do some things that feel like more traditional entertainment. So it feels like, oh, that's why. And then like 5 years from now, people are going to be like, oh my gosh, Rachel Hollis started a company.
That's interesting as a blueprint for in the digital age where we have YouTube and people can get good at something behind the scenes, build something, and then leverage that in front of the camera, which to me is far more interesting than doing it the other way.
Right.
Now, Reese or $7 or the $7 production company, I think is the name.
Yep.
The Rock. That makes sense. You come up as an actor or whatever, and then you start making the stuff yourselves. But to be an influencer, but not have built something, like the only reason I ever let myself step in front of a camera was I had spent, by the time I stepped in front of a camera, I'd been an entrepreneur for 15 years. I'd had my ups and downs, was really finally understanding how to do this stuff and all the changes that I'd had to make to myself. And so felt like I could go and offer value. But the only reason that I continue to do it now is because I'm building a separate company. So I can sell people a business class.
Right.
Because my business isn't the business class.
Right.
My business is actually over here.
Right.
I know this is a financial opportunity, and so 100%. I do it. But all the shit that I'm doing all day and learning and growing this thing over here, I'm just teaching you what I'm doing.
Yep.
So that makes a lot of sense to me. So backwards maybe from the way that it's done traditionally, but far more interesting.
Right. Of just like, this is something that feels a little bit more accepted. And I think, I told you 18 months ago that I was like, oh, I'm going to be the one who sort of carries this torch forward. And then I ran into that, like started talking about numbers and because I'm really proud. I have a high school diploma. Like I'm really proud of what I built. And then I was like, whoa, calm down. Slow your roll. Like there needs to be more strategy behind this. If Oprah, the queen of all, like hasn't done this, hasn't talked about this, if all of these really smart, very successful women aren't leading out in this way, there's a reason. So what's the reason? So it's like I wanted to set an example, but not at the detriment of the brand of the business.
I think about that a lot in terms of what would I need to do to grow faster. So when I look at, there's a lot of young upstarts that appeal to the 19-year-old guys you were talking about, and you flash the wealth and the cars and all that stuff. And the team will be like, if we did a video and we have the drone shot of your house 100%. And all of that, we could sell a lot more business courses. Or the number of fucking times a PR team has asked me, like, to tell the story about how you build the $1 billion company, and just make sure you work in that stuff.
Right. And
it would be better for business. But the thing that is, I'm making a bet that, and I want this to be true, because it wouldn't be better for how I feel about myself when I'm by myself, I don't do it. And now, because I'm not willing to do it anyway, I want to believe that on a long enough timeline, people see me in the muck, in the dirt, the parts where I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm just trying to help people really gain the skills that they need to have to go on and do something extraordinary. My hope is that like people see, like, he doesn't posture, he's not faking it, he's not selling a dream, or like, it's just, look, this shit is fucking hard, it's super fucking tactical. learn these things, do
Yeah.
this, you can have success. No one can guarantee that
The
you're going to be
most
successful.
successful people I know, this is just real, the most successful people I know, the wealthiest people I know are not the people who would ever make a video with the drone shot. They would never show off the private jet because they don't need to. But you know what I mean? Like the wealthiest, most successful people I know, like if someone's doing that, you need to ask yourself why.
My thing is the only reason that I don't do it is because the money won't change how you feel about yourself. So if I get you enticed by the money and you pursue money, it's a losing proposition. It's like I have to find a way to get you to pursue improving yourself, getting control of your emotional life.
Well, also because you're not a douchebag. Like that, come on. It's the douchiest.
But if it were real, it wouldn't be douchey, I don't think. Like if it were real, that in pursuing money, you will make the changes that you want to make, then great, no problem. It's just that it doesn't
I'm talking about
work.
the very specific, like wearing, designer, whatever, on the private jet, showing that, like over the top, showing that, which we know people who do.
Sure.
Though I do think we're in a time period.
That's going to get shit on so hard.
This is like the French Revolution. Like you cannot, if people are still doing that, you're dead. You are dead. Even I followed this really closely when we went into quarantine because I was just like, okay, all of these celebrities have the highest level publicists in the world. I want to not listen to what people say. I want to watch what people do. And if you notice, and I still think they're in this place, like go scroll through social, like the biggest celebrities, shots are really tight. It's like you're not showing the whole living room anymore. You're just showing like this one moment. There's nothing fancy. We're in jeans and t-shirts. We're no makeup. Because the last thing that you should be doing right now is showing that off or shoving that down people's throats. Like the idea of tone deaf or so disrespectful. I haven't checked, but I'm sure some of the usual suspects are still showing their, fancy belt buckle on the private jet that they totally rented and pretend is theirs.
That's funny. The thing that there's a flip side to that coin, which is ambition is now getting shit on. And that makes me really fucking sad for other people. Because it's like, look, I'm going to win. Like, if you guys want to stop playing, fine. That's not interesting to me. Like, I'm not interested in talking people out of competing so that I can win. But it's like,
you think that's something that's happened inside of like COVID and this world?
Whatever this change is that's been going on for a while, and I don't just think it's COVID. I think COVID accelerated it. But there is like, the fact that people will pull down an American flag, the fact that people will, laugh if you say, man, it's the American dream. Like, come on, we can do this. The fact that
those are people who've never clearly been to another country.
And more distressing to me is because I think of America as an idea far more than I think of it as a place. Like my wife is what I call a foreign-born American. She was just always American. She was just always optimistic. She always had big dreams. She always felt like, put me in, coach, like, let me do this. I can do it. And so from the time she was a little kid, she's always said, I'm going to live in America one day. And like that enthusiasm for, I can change my life is to me, like, that's the juice. Like the very thing that I want to give people is the belief that they can improve their life. And because I founded Quest in the middle of the Great Recession, it's like, I know how you can control your destiny. You can build something even when the deck really is stacked against you.
Right. I never thought about this. You're one of those people. Like how many millionaires, billionaires, big businesses are born in recession? You're one of those people.
It's a moment of disruption. And what happens is people get emotionally and mentally defeated. And so there's just less people playing the game as part of it. And so it's the people that...
Can we just sit in that for a minute? There's just less people playing the game.
Yeah.
I was at a meeting yesterday with someone, and I was trying to like pep him up with this of like, do you know how many people are dropping out of the race? Like, honest to God, half the battle right now is, can you just stay standing? You fall down and can you stand back up and can you keep going? Because that really is it. Like, I really do, you're talking about like entrepreneur and like being so hardcore. I'm going to come out the other side of this year. Like, I'm already like, fuck, I am strong as fuck. Like, I knew I was strong, but I did not. The mental stamina to survive. At, like, personal life, absolutely. That personal life is over here, but everything that has happened in the business this year, I can't even believe. It is like sucker punch one after another. And like, you're like, okay, we figured it out. Like, we dodged that bullet. And they're like, oh no, you got shot in the other arm. You didn't know. That one's bleeding now too.
That's fucking business, man.
It's business.
That's
is like, it. And it's like okay, wait, I want to ask this for real. Were there times in building Quest after you had made money where you were like, fuck, what the fuck am I doing?
Not even once.
That's, your brain is wired that way.
Here is because I had my crisis early, meaning, so the company before Quest was a company called Awareness Technologies. So I leave teaching filmmaking to go work at this company as a copywriter. And they gave me this great speech, which I will forever be in their debt for, which was, don't think of yourself as an employee, think of yourself as a partner. If you add so much value that we would rather make you a partner than lose you, then you can become a partner.
Right.
And I did, and true to their word, they made me a partner. And I was worth about $2 million on paper. And people need to understand the difference between paper money and cash money, which most people don't.
Right.
And so they think, these billionaires that over COVID, they've just become richer. It's like, that money's not in their fucking bank.
Right.
It's like a baseball card going up in value. You still have to sell the fucking baseball card.
Right.
Anyway,
and get taxed
we started on that.
Yeah.
But I was technically wealthy and felt emotionally bankrupt. And I was like, oh my God, I feel fucking dead. And I was like, this sucks. Driving into work, there's like this fucking dark cloud. My wife finally pulled me aside and said, look, this is now damaging the marriage. You were so unhappy and you're working so much. What the fuck are you doing? And I was like, you're right. I need to do something that makes me feel alive. And that became my mantra. I go in and quit. It's a moment of deep shame. And so yes, it ends up being the most important thing and it gives birth to Quest and blah, blah, blah. But at the time, you don't fucking know where it's going.
Right.
It just seems like you've broken and you can't go on anymore. And so I was like, this sucks. I've got to go do something that makes me feel alive. So in that moment, I realized, oh, this is about how I feel when I'm by myself. This isn't about money or what other people think.
How you feel about yourself when you're by yourself.
100%. How you feel about yourself is all that matters. Like, that's it. Neurochemistry is the game. Like, how many billionaires have to commit suicide before people realize it doesn't
it's not about the
affect
money. Right.
how you feel about yourself? And so one of the things that I'm super grateful for is the way that I got wealthy was by creating equity. So equity in a company, the company becomes valued more, and then ultimately you sell it. But while you're building that value, on paper, I was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but I didn't have anything other than my normal salary to show for it.
Right.
So it was one day to the next, oh, okay, cool. Now I've got wealth and oh my God, I don't feel any different. All of the insecurities that I had coming into this, I still have.
Right.
So you talk about when people have a goal that is just geography, but who you are is going to follow you to that new geography. Who you are is going to follow you to being wealthy. Who you are is going to follow you to being broke, by the way.
Right.
So if you're stable and you know who you are and you feel good about yourself and then you go broke, you're still stable, you still know who you are, unless you were foolish enough to value yourself for money. So that I buy into tremendously. So I had that crisis very early. I knew that it was about how I felt about myself. So I just started focusing on what are the things I need to do to feel good about myself. I come to this there's a book, I think it's called Drive, maybe by Steven Pinker, but I can't remember. Don't hold me to that. And he talks about the 5 things that actually motivate people.
Which are?
Money,
do you remember? Okay.
Autonomy, meaning, purpose. Which one am I forgetting? Meaning and purpose are the 2 that ultimately really matter. I can't believe that I don't remember the 5th one. If I sat with it long enough, I would definitely. But, I think progress.
Okay.
Getting better. Mastery.
Right.
That's how he words it. Mastery. Right. So we all want to get better at something.
Absolutely.
Meaning and purpose. Meaning and purpose. If you don't have meaning and purpose. So I was like, cool, that's the fucking glowing orb I will set at the center of my heart and soul. My daily life is all going to be about meaning and purpose. So once the company was no longer about wealth creation, it was about meaning and purpose, I knew, even if I sell the company, so to give you an idea, I exited Quest on a Monday. On Tuesday, we started Impact Theory. I didn't take a single fucking day off. So, because I knew that it's about meaning and purpose and showing up and doing hard things and pushing and being a hardcore motherfucker,
Right.
not to be a broken record, but it's like, these are the things that I value in my life. So, you take that, again, that tapestry of beliefs, rules, values, identity, you bundle it up, and it's like, it's not even like I considered taking a day off. It's like, of course, I'm gonna stop doing one thing on Monday and start doing the next thing on a Tuesday.
Right.
That's just what makes sense to me.
I don't feel like I've been in, it sounds so silly, like I've been in the game so long, but I've been in it so long, but there are days where it's just like, what the hell? What the actual hell?
So what are the bumpers in the alley that stop you from giving up?
Because I've fought too goddamn long to be here.
What would you package that as? Identity?
Probably. Like, this is who I am. I'm the person who gets back up. I'm tenacious. I go again. No matter what, I go again. And I think if you were going to give up, you should have given up in 2008. You should have given up. Like, I literally, in the last 9 months, like, I've thought through, like, oh, remember when this happened? And remember when this happened? And you just, got on with customer service and answered, 5,000 emails and, like, called people and did, like, if you were why'd you go through all of this? If you were going to give up, why didn't you give up back then? Like, this is not, I guess it is identity. That's not who I am.
You talk about it in the book, and it was a really powerful section. I think it was actually a different section, but marrying where you were talking about identity with when you were talking about the Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
And you were like, one of the things that really resonated with you was that they say every time we fall down, we're going to get back up.
Yep. Yeah. It just, I'm surprised at myself. Like, and I'm not saying that as I'm so fancy. But I think of this year, and maybe this has been like this for a lot of entrepreneurs or business owners or just humans. It reminds me of running my first marathon, my only marathon. It reminds me of running a marathon. And I signed up, never, the whole thing, like, never thought I was a runner, decided to run, whatever, sign up for the LA Marathon. The day of my marathon, this freak occurrence in Los Angeles, it was 92 degrees in February.
Oh!
Right. Don't know why. So when you train
That's hateful.
Right, it's awful. When you train for a marathon, I don't know if you know, that you don't run your full distance. So you train to like 18 or 20 miles when a full marathon's 26.2. And they tell you your adrenaline will carry you the rest of the way. But it means that you show up on race morning not really knowing if you've got it.
Right.
And I was so fucking scared. And so scared mostly, I don't care what anyone else thinks, but I did not want to fail myself. And for me, and I know that people will hear this however they want to hear this, for me, it would have been a failure to walk. I had trained for months. I had trained to run a marathon. And man, if you walk 26, good for you. Like, that's amazing. But for me, I knew that I would feel like I had given up on my goal, which was to run 26.2 miles. So I felt like everything was stacked against me that day. I was on my period, Tom. Like, I was like, I'm gonna be one of those people in a magazine who's like bleeding out on mile 18, but I'm gonna keep going. Like, it's 92 degrees and you're literally people are passing out as we're running this race. Like, it was crazy. And I get to mile 18, and it's so wild because I was thinking about this the other day, and then I was driving up mile 18. So in LA, the LA Marathon, you run from Dodger Stadium to Santa Monica Pier.
Whoa.
Right.
That's
long crazy. Way. It's crazy. It's a really cool race because you're just running distance as opposed to circle. But mile 18 was Wilshire. And it was like, I don't even know what time of day, like high noon or something. It's so hot and it's all asphalt. And it was I just felt like I was going to die. And it took everything in my power to get through mile 18. And I was thinking, how am I going to get to 26? There's no way. And I was just like, I mean, the cussing that I did in my own head, and I was running slower than anyone can walk. Everyone can walk faster than I was running, but it was like a mental thing.
Right.
As long as I felt like I was still keeping my commitment to myself, so I'm just like barely, so slow, like a turtle running this marathon. And I got to mile 25, and that's where you're like coming in to Santa Monica, and you're like running along the ocean, and you see the Ferris wheel, and one of the most profound experiences of my whole life, mile 25 into the end of this race. And it is ingrained in my nervous system. I can see that day. I can smell the ocean. I was playing Miley Cyrus, The Climb on repeat, which is so lame, but it was like, I was so delirious. I was
All
just
26 miles?
No. Just that last bit.
Hardcore.
Just that last bit. I just like over and over and over. And I'm just like, you're gonna do it. Like you get them for 25 miles. I've been like, I'm not gonna do it. I can't do it. And then I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna do this. And the only thing that I can equate it to is giving birth, because that is an equally impossible physical feat. Like I have no idea how my body did that. But the amount of time, like I always tell this story to people who are like, I don't know, should I sign up for a 5K or, what should I? It doesn't matter what it is, but I think that as human beings, we need things in our lives that we look back on and we're like, I survived mile 25. I survived mile 18. And for a lot of people, 2020 is going to be their mile 25, right?
That's interesting.
And that only happens if you keep going. Like in 2020, even I, who am resilient as fuck, am like, this year's getting us. So if we can survive this, if we can thrive, if we can be the people who are still in the race, if we can be whatever that looks like if we can still be in this, you get to 21 or 20, like you're untouchable. What's gonna get you? Like I'm still standing right now as an entrepreneur in 2020, owning a live events business because I lived through 2008. I owned a high-end event planning company in 2008. Oof. Like just nobody wants that in 2008. I don't know. I'm shocked at like we're all just here and we're all still standing up.
It's interesting because I see you, I think, very differently than you see you, which is one of the fascinating. So if somebody said, all right, you've got a couple chips you can put on people that you just know 100%, no matter what is thrown at this person, like they will be standing on the other side. Yeah. Definitely easy chip on you.
Right.
Like just no question.
100%.
Resilience.
But not easily.
That's what I love. That's the magic of like the Rachel Hollis human who is the brand, is this shit is hard. It drives me crazy when people look at me and think, well, sure, easy enough for you. I'm like, motherfucker, there was a point in my life where I couldn't tell a story to my own family because I was debilitated by anxiety and had to claw my way back from that. Mm-hmm. There was a point in my life where I was lying on my unfurnished apartment because I couldn't afford furnishings, feeling the synthetic carpet smashing into my face and thinking, how the fuck am I ever going to do anything with my life? Right. I'm too stupid to have the kind of storied existence that I want. Right. I have no idea how to make my dreams come true. And it's clawing your way from stuff like that I want to be inspiring to people. And this is why with empathy, when I see people tearing other people down, I'm just like, what are you doing? Right. Like, is there anything else you could take away from this? Is there a lesson? Is there inspiration? Is there like something? Because the hard moment is going to come for you. Right. And if you've got a value system that's like crabs in a bucket, nobody stick their head up too high, nobody go too hard, nobody dream too big, it's like you've just capped your own potential.
I think that there's also just a wild misconception
About?
That once you're successful or once you accumulate wealth, that then it's easy.
Oh, keeping wealth is a lot harder than earning it.
I was listening, I want to say Kevin Hart was on I think it was his last interview with Rogan, which was so good if you haven't heard it. Do you listen to Joe Rogan?
I do.
I love Joe Rogan. It's an interesting choice for me, I understand, but
No,
I think he's hilarious. I think he's one of the best interviewers that exists.
Here is the heartbreaking news.
What?
He is the best interviewer.
Right.
But he's my competition. I must defeat Joe Rogan. But he is better than me.
Oh my God,
currently.
I love you. Right.
But I think he is really good.
He is.
And he makes it look easy.
So easy. And people don't give him credit for how intelligent he is, how well read he is. He is the king. I grew up in theater. Did you do theater?
I did a little.
So do you know Yes and?
Yes, in improv.
Right.
I do.
So he is, if you watch him do an interview, that's all he's doing. Oh, yes, and nuclear physics.
Right.
Also, like he's so good at just going. But he did an interview with Kevin Hart, and Kevin Hart said, what people don't realize is that it's way easier to become successful than it is to stay successful.
Church.
And I was like, that is the realest of the real. And when you achieve success, you also, I hate to say this because it sounds pessimistic, but it's real. You have a bigger target on your back.
Right.
Now people want to tear you apart because, and not just like, this isn't, we're not saying like, oh, people want to tear you apart because like on social, no, I'm talking about like people want to sue you.
Right.
Like
no one sued me when I was poor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing where you're like, what is happening? That it is so much harder to be at this level than it was to be like, oh, could I get to 5,000 followers on Facebook? Which, in saying that, I also feel like it's important for people who are in that season of their growth, of their entrepreneurial journey, or, you know, they want to be a speaker or author, whatever, like enjoy those moments. Number one, you're learning, you're growing, whatever. But I know, I feel like if I heard someone say this when I was younger, I'd be like, shut up. But you'll miss that level of responsibility because it is
phases.
Nothing compared to this.
I'm always telling people, enjoy every phase.
Right.
Every phase has something that is amazing, and you will look back and be like, oh man, I didn't think I would ever look back fondly on this time, but I actually do now because of, you know, X, Y, Z, whatever.
100%.
But yeah, got to enjoy the phases.
I think that is you said earlier, like, do people know how hardcore you are or whatever? I think the biggest thing that people don't understand is that I'm on the stage and I'm also running it behind the scenes. And that's not, I don't want that for me. I wish that I could just be the one creating, but I haven't figured out a solution for it yet. I'll let you know when I do.
Please.
But I don't think that people understand that I'm like marketing the thing, selling the thing, and then I am the thing, which is wild.
What I really hope people take away from your entire personality is it's really inspiring to see somebody build something from scratch, to fight for it, to keep dreaming bigger, to have children, to have a business, and just to be enthusiastic and to be so optimistic. It's like, it's so intoxicating, but you have to, I guess you have to share the values. Part of why I find it so intoxicating is because I share so many of your values. And so I see you making something out of nothing, out of thin air, pivoting, learning, growing, pushing yourself, like seeming to thrive in the uncertainty. Like you'll attack it with a smile. Like I wasn't being figurative when I said we were in a yurt, like when that group of us got together, all because of you. And we come together and we're dreaming and pushing each other and talking about like, how the fuck do you really pull this off? And that to me like is so cool. And when you going back to that desert island idea, when you get a bunch of people that are thinking like that, and you can insert yourself, which you've created for people between the books and the events and the podcast, it's like people can really be a part of your world and make you one of the 5. If we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, it's like they can make you one of the 5.
Right.
And the fact that, and look, this is definitely because my wife and you are so similar in like just the savage nature of like, I'm gonna be who the fuck I wanna be. And like people can try to tear me down all day if they want, but like, I just believe in it and it makes me come alive, and so I'm gonna do it. I feel like this generation is a vanguard of women who are opening that door to people, and I just wanna see more people like really hype on that.
I hope so. I can't tell if this was an outro.
No,
or
not
okay,
at all.
I was like, am I allowed to keep? I was like,
Please,
was
yeah.
this a wrap up? No, God, I hope so. I really, I hope that when my daughter's 3, I hope that when she is a grown up, these narratives don't even exist. That it's just, you could be whoever you are. And my sons too. Like, what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a boy? What is it like? Just that we get to define that for ourselves. I sincerely hope. God, the world is so big and there's room enough for all of us. And I think it's so interesting that people tear down other people. Not even me. I'm fine. My skin is very thick. Like, I'm not worried about it. But there are a lot of people who will quit what was $1 billion idea, who won't ever make the podcast that would have been better than Rogan, right? They will stop doing the thing that actually was genius because someone was mean to them on social.
How do they solve for that?
The easiest, fastest way is you don't consume social. I don't.
What happens when your friends text them?
You send a group message and you say, I love you, don't tell me this. And when YouTube suggests it to you when you're looking for divorce advice, I laughed, and then I sat there and I was like, okay, this is too pointed. What am I meant to learn in this moment? Like, this feels too much like the universe. I really do live my life in such a way that I'm like,
do you believe in meant to be?
No. But I do believe the universe is talking to us. I believe God, the universe, whatever you want to call that, is trying to be like, hello. And not even necessarily to say like, oh, your destiny is over here in the door on the left, but more to say like, you're missing this. I really, like, 2020 is wild. It is a wild burning down of a lot of things that needed to be burned. We talked about this earlier, of houses built on sand, of things that are falling apart. And it's awful and painful to watch things fall. But that is how you have a rebirth. That is how something new comes out of it. And so, in the slowing down of this year, I've had a lot of conversations with my girlfriends about like, have all of these things been distracting us from, that we were supposed to be paying attention to, that we were supposed to be listening to, that like in that moment, like the YouTube thing, I was like, okay, what am I meant to learn in this? Am I meant to learn? A really powerful thing was like unpacked. Why does seeing that thing give you anxiety? Because that's why I don't consume social, because it will make me anxious. And so for the first time, rather than fighting against it and going like, don't be anxious, like that's so stupid, like this is a picture, like this is some person, like who knows who, like I go through the checklist of very rational thought. This was the first time that I ever said, why does it give you anxiety? Can you understand why? And then I had a conversation with myself. Okay, it gives me anxiety because I'm a people pleaser. What does it mean for you to be a people pleaser? I don't want people to be mad at me. Okay, so you seeing that someone made a YouTube video about you, and just so we're really clear, that video is not about me. You know me, you're my friend.
Right.
That video is about Rachel Hollis. That video is about a persona or a brand that person has made up in their mind of who I am. That's not me. That's not my kid's mom. That's not my, friends with Sammy and Beans. Like, that doesn't touch me because that's not real. And so it's like, okay, well, why is that triggering for you? Okay, I don't want people to be mad at me. Okay, well, what does it mean for you if someone's mad. So I like literally therapy session myself, sitting here looking at this. I did not watch a YouTube video, I swear, because I was like, I don't hate myself that much, but I'm just like looking at the cover art, which was like a hideous photo of me, of course. And then I unpack, why would it be triggering for you if someone is mad? Well, Daddy was always mad. And as a little girl, you lived in fear that he was going to get mad. Well, what happens if Daddy's mad? You're not safe. You don't know what to anticipate. My dad was just, would go into violent rages and never laid hands on us, but like you're punching holes in the wall or whatever, like, and you're a little girl, like that's terrifying. And so his anger meant that I was unsafe. And it is the exact same way that it feels for me. When I see something like that, I feel unsafe. Why? Because that thing is attacking my brand, and my brand affects my business, and my business is the family I have created to make up for the family that I didn't have, right? So all these people that work with me that I love dearly, that thing affects this thing, which means I'm unsafe, which means the family's unsafe. And me just being able to identify that was like a light switch that I've not had in my entire adult life. And I was like, oh, this feeling, this anxiety is not 37-year-old Rachel. Because 37-year-old me is badass. She knows that that person has their own problems. This feeling comes from me as a little kid. And literally all it took in that moment, I know that I'm gonna sound like a hippie right now, but I just imagined a conversation with 37-year-old me, like a mom, talking to 6-year-old me and saying, I got us. Nobody is ever gonna make us unsafe again. Never. Like we're safe, we're fine. Even if someone's mad, it won't affect us and what we're doing. Like that. So that's why I think I saw that day. I really do think that you can look at that opportunity and you can crumble, or you can ask, what is this meant to teach me? So.
It is so interesting to me the way that we can imbue something with meaning. So I don't think the universe is talking to us, which, like you, it's like I'm very open to people's interpretation, like whatever gets you there. And it obviously took you somewhere very powerful. So I'm not in any way, shape, or form discounting that or anything.
See, we don't actually have to agree, and we can still be friends. It's wild.
I know.
The
crazy,
internet
right?
should take a lesson.
Right. What I find interesting is, like, as you were talking, I was like, there's something in that, like the image of you protecting a child, but that child also secretly being you, like that is what makes movies so fucking powerful. Like those conceptual images sort of brought to reality. And I've said, and this, I'm actually embarrassed by this, and I even surprise myself with how often I bring it up because I'm a little ashamed of it. If I'm alone in the house, I can get scared. If Lisa's here, I'm never scared because I am prepared to die for her, right? So that's like an easy conversation that I've had, and may it never come to that. And trust me, for anybody wondering, I'm also prepared to kill for her.
Right.
So, but
just
it's
so
like,
we're clear.
Right, yeah. Because the imagery is so strong in terms of how I've crafted my identity, not just with rules and values and beliefs, but just also like snippets of images and, me protecting her and standing up for her. It creates something really powerful. So anyway, this is a long way of getting to self-awareness. Like the people that put the time in to ask those recursive questions, there are breakthroughs to be had for sure to understand what's motivating you, what's pushing you. I think it's worth doing the work. I had, have you ever heard of Lori Gottlieb?
Yeah, why? She's a therapist?
She's an author and a therapist. Okay. Yes, she wrote a book called Maybe You Should Talk to Somebody.
Right, yes.
Amazing book.
Okay.
And in it, she deals with like those recursive questions. And as I was reading the book, I was really freaked out by, and this is something that's long freaked me out, but just how much one's childhood plays into your adulthood. And quite frankly, her book touches a lot on trauma.
Okay. Which
I felt like was the core of your book, of how you rise up past that, how you use your identity to get beyond that, like how you survive, in your words, this season. Like if you're in a difficult season, like this is what you have to do. And the self-awareness that's required to like parse. The words that Lori used were integrate. You have to integrate this into your life. You have to integrate why that thing creates that reaction, how you begin to understand it, and how you make it part of the tapestry. Like, this is a hard thing, but it isn't the sum total of who I am. My marriage is falling apart, but it's not the sum total of who I am. And so finding a way to have a holistic narrative that recognizes the things that didn't go well, but also recognizes and celebrates the things that do go well.
Yeah.
And creating that whole human, that to me is like the juice.
Right.
But the amount of work that you have to do to ask those questions, to sit in that space, to not numb out the difficulties, like, and that's one of the reasons that I talk so much about staring nakedly at my inadequacies, because from that I can actually figure out what's going on.
Right.
But if I don't stop to say, ooh, like that actually did not feel good. Like, why the fuck is this bothering me so much? And actually forcing yourself to come to an understanding. And if you can do it by yourself, amazing. Otherwise, get a therapist,
right.
Get an energy healer, get somebody,
right.
something somewhere.
Well, and I will say, to be truthful, I haven't done all of this therapy, all of this work, energy healing. If you were like, I got a shaman in the back room you can talk to, I'd be like, yes, I'm here for anything. It isn't because, I don't want to lie and say like, oh, it's because I want to be like the most healthy, whole person that I can be. I'm going to say this to you because I know you're going to get it. These feelings are a distraction. I hate being slowed down. I hate, like, there is pain in my life that I will sit with and I will feel. My marriage is ending. My children are sad. I am sad. Dave's sad. Like, I'm going to feel that. It is unhealthy for me not to feel that, accept it, work through it, process that. Anxiety over someone making a YouTube video is a fucking waste of my time. And I always get over it, always. But I hate that it takes even half an hour. I hate that I have even half an hour or 10 minutes or 3 minutes of anxiety about a stranger who does not know me, who made something, quite frankly, I'm gonna give this human the benefit of the doubt and say that they never in a million years thought that I would see it. They wanted YouTube clicks, they wanted to get attention, they wanted significance, they made a thing, right? They don't think that that's ever gonna come to me in one of the lowest moments of my life. Because if they did, then they're a monster, and that can excuse that too, right? So I'm willing to do the work, I'm willing to dig in. Let's talk to the therapist, let's figure out this thing, because I have a life to live, I have a mission, I have work to do. I hate the distraction. Like, damn it, like I'm in flow, I'm doing the thing, and then this over here, like, ugh, what a stupid waste of my time. You also said something that made me have an epiphany. So I read a study recently that said that women come nowhere near men when it comes to negotiation. Like, men are wildly, like they did a bunch of studies, men are wildly better at women for negotiating for themselves, okay? If a woman has to negotiate her own salary, a man has to negotiate, he's gonna be wildly better. Except if she is negotiating on behalf of someone else.
Right.
Not only is she at his level, but she surpasses him by 1,000%. Not really that percentage. But I thought that was so fascinating, that we are so bad at fighting for ourselves, but so incredible at fighting for other people. Like you were talking about Lisa, which is what made me think of this. But I even am looking at my own experience, this work that I've done with my inner child and my younger self, and her telling me to imagine that I'm doing it for younger me. I'm fighting for a child.
Literally what I was thinking when you were telling the story.
And I just like had this epiphany. I'm like, oh, that's why this is clicking for me for the first time, is I'm truly trying to heal a child that I know very well because it was me. And all of those things that like I didn't like, this is whatever, we're just gonna keep going down this inner child thing. I started doing this work with her. When I moved into the house, I was going through stuff when I was little, and I found like not oil painting, but oil like chalk from like 3rd grade or something. I had taken an art class, And I remember Mrs. Roll's art class, and we had to paint she showed us a painting. We all sort of did our replica of it. And it's not going to win an award, but it was pretty good for like a third grader. And this sounds so sad to even say like out loud, but like my parents don't have mementos from my childhood. But even as a child, I kept my own, like my art projects, my reports, I have a box in my house that I started collecting as a little girl.
Wow.
Because nobody else would. Which is
I would never have thought to do that.
Right? Like,
it's interesting.
Wild.
That you were journaling that young as well.
Yeah.
It's fucking fascinating.
I thought that too the other day when I was reading. I was like, oh, okay, there's something here always.
I did not have that.
Like I found lists, like I would write lists, like this is what I'm grateful for, or like as a little kid, or here are my goals. My goals were like that I wanted so-and-so as a boyfriend. I should have taken a picture. It was like, I will own a house in Beverly Hills. I will, like it was precious. But the point is, I found this picture that I had made as third grader. And I had it professionally framed, and I hung it on the wall in my house because I do a lot of I have artwork that I collect, and then I have framed. Interestingly enough, little kids in like preschool will create things with finger paints that look like the greatest impressionist art, like the most amazing stuff. And if you have it professionally framed, people are like, "Oh my God, who is this artist?" I'm like, her name's Noah. But I had it framed and I put it on the wall, and I swear to God, I walk out every day and I'm like, wow. Someone framed my art. And it's ridiculous because I framed it.
Sure.
But there's something so powerful about like, if you didn't have that and you spend so much of your life, an achiever, a 3 on the Enneagram, which is what I am, is created a very specific way. The way that you got attention as a child was to achieve. And so it taught you that that's how you should behave in life. And there was something like so beautiful for me of like, I see you, and like, I'm gonna acknowledge this thing you did, even if nobody else did.
You're touching on something which I find very interesting. I'm way out of my depth. I do not know about this, but I have strong intuitions, which I will share and let the internet
Wait, you have intuition?
I do. It's trained. And here it is. So I have a deep conviction that men and women, the 50% that's hardwired is different. Now, look, we're both human, and so the things we have in common are far more than the things that we don't. So let me just be very clear about that. But to me, once you begin to understand what the mechanisms are about the way that a woman approaches the world, you can leverage them to your advantage. Once you understand the way that the male brain approaches the world, you can leverage them to your advantage to do things that create a better world, a more beautiful world, that your own life is more beautiful, whatever. But the way that you're talking about your art and somebody framed my art, it's possible that there are guys that feel exactly that way. But I will say probably, like when you look at the overlap, as you get to the tails, it just probably isn't the way that a guy would respond. I would not expect to hear that story from a guy, but coming from a woman, it feels completely normal to me. And I am well aware of how much of society influences us and all that, but still. One of the most extraordinary examples of how women can leverage something in them, that willingness to fight for those that we care about, and how women then can leverage that in her own life, whether it's like you reflecting back on your own self as a child and beginning to marry those two and fight for that little girl and to show that little girl how far you've come. And maybe it's a gimmick, but my gut is it would work. So the example is there's this book called The Gulag Archipelago. It's written by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, and he was a Russian guy thrown in the Gulag, tortured, and he was talking about how, and the millions of people were killed in the Gulag. It's fucking bananas. And in the book, he talks about men and women being different in torture. And he was like, if you heard that someone was tortured to death, he said odds are it was a woman. Because the guy would stop. Like eventually he's just like, fuck it. Like, you're not gonna stop. So eventually they would just make shit up, fucking like, let me out of this. And he said, but women were so fucking stubborn and they just wouldn't quit. And I don't remember it well enough to know if he specifically said because women would fucking protect somebody to the ends. But it's like when you think of that was my impression.
Got it.
And thinking about my own wife, legitimately, even though like I'm probably faster to be aggressive, once she's triggered, good luck. Like, but for real, I remember once she so wouldn't back down on something that I was like, you're starting to freak me out. Like, how can you endure this much pain on this subject? Stop. It doesn't fucking make sense anymore. Just let it go. It seems so irrational. But then I'll see that same thing in another context where it's beneficial. And I'm like, yo, fucking you be the one, because I know you will fucking go to a point that is so long past like how much I care about it. I will have stopped long before my wife would stop. And when I hear stories like that, and it's like, look, guys have their strengths and there are things you can fucking rely on them for. And I love that. And I step into that space and it feels good to me to be relied on. Like when the alarm goes off in the middle of the night, I'm the fucking one that rushes into danger. And I love that. I take pride in that. I would turn to other men and expect them to do the same. Say what you will, but that feels right to me. There should be, in my mind, we all want to belong to some sort of group and to have there be standards. And this used to be a thing where you would take boys away from their mothers at a certain age and you'd fucking take them out into the wilderness and you'd circumcise them with a fucking sharp rock and no anesthetic, or you'd make them jump off a thing and like, it's not a bungee cord, it's a fucking rope. And they would just, snap tight like 4 inches off the ground. But I think that shit is rad. And I know like we're living in a world where a lot of that's frowned upon.
Not the rope circumcision, but like...
No. Now we could really fucking derail. But it doesn't have to be ropes and circumcision, but it needs to be something.
Like a rite of passage.
100%.
Yeah, rite of passage. There's all kinds of studies about how important this is for kids and how they don't really exist anymore.
Got to have them.
Yeah, super important.
And we don't. But anyway, that was like one of the things that hearing about women where I was like, the fact that you guys give birth, it seems self-evident that there would be evolutionary ramifications to that of pain tolerance, of determination, of attachment to infants. I mean, like there's going to be like a whole lot of knock-on effects to make sure that you guys will go through that shit. Right. And leveraging that in the way that you have by hanging up your art, like to me that's why understanding what the biological imperatives are becomes so useful, because now you can put it to use in your life. Yeah. But when we're like, even I'm getting disgusted with myself that I'm couching everything, I'm making all these fucking caveats because I just want to know what's true. Mm-hmm. I don't have a dog in the fight in terms of what is actually true. I just want people to be able to talk about it, explore it, like, hey, where the fuck are these delineations? What makes for the most well-rounded, well-adjusted human being?
This is a very dramatic question, but do you believe there can ever be absolute truth?
Yes, there is scientific truth for sure.
But it can't be universal truth for every single person.
Of course it can.
No.
You ready?
Yes.
If you let CO2 build up in your system to too high of a level, you will die.
Okay.
Universally true, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
But you were just sort of saying like, I just want to know what the truth is. Yeah. But yes, okay.
Are you talking sex differences?
No, I'm saying anything in life.
Oh yeah.
Like
there are
many. Of course there are.
No, but this has become a freaky argument to me, where some people are saying that there is literally no objective truth. Do you hear about the whole hashtag shut down STEM? Mm-mm. Yeah, fucking crazy. So again, we're now at the edge of my understanding, and so I won't speak with any specifics other than to say that the scientific method itself came under attack for being racist. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. And it holds people back. Now, why would I say it's crazy? I'm using that word very specifically. I will say it is crazy because in my worldview, and I think this is universal, people should have a goal. That goal should be both exciting to them and honorable, meaning that it uplifts humanity, okay? But everything should be an echo of that fucking goal. And the only way to achieve your goal is with basically a version of the scientific method. You know where you want to be, you know where you are, you identify the impediment that stands between you and your goal, you have an informed hypothesis about how to overcome that impediment, you run tests to see if they actually work to get you, you do this in business every day. Totally. It's what I call the physics of progress. It is the nature of progress itself. You must do it to function in life. So when you start saying that act of like trial and error, and that there are empirical results that you can look at that say, yes, we either are moving towards our goal or we are not, to ever assail that. There was a whole argument about 2 + 2 = 5. And they gave a whole argument as to why that was true. And I was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, what is the point of this? I guess I meant,
They want to believe people are blank slates. That's the point. But if people are truly blank slates, then there can be no absolutes. But I'm just saying there are absolutes, and we are not blank slates.
There are absolutes. I guess more than my question is the pursuit of the absolute truth feels, to me, less important than a curiosity about.
We almost certainly agree, but you'd have to define. You think I'm pursuing absolute truth.
No, I just was, because you said like, I want to know the truth. But then to me that feels dangerous and sort of dogmatic.
Ooh,
because
give me more.
Because the truth today, if we look at our history, there were things that we believed to be capital T truths that we now are like, that was fucking crazy.
Right.
And the capital T truth that you believe today could be wildly different tomorrow.
Yep.
So isn't it more powerful to pursue curiosity, to pursue knowledge, to understand, to like have information and come at it from different angles, as opposed to say this is the ultimate answer forever and ever?
I agree with you so violently that there's going to be bloodshed. 100%.
Your responses are
but my
favorite.
thing is like, you're always trying to find that thing that moves you closer to actually understanding the way that the world works, so that you can leverage it to create the things you want to create. So the easy way to say it, which you've heard before, I am certainly not making this up, but strong convictions loosely held. I think this is true.
Yes.
Acting in accordance with this works.
Right.
Hey, Tom, this is actually more true. Well, shit.
Right.
That's all you
Thank
had to
you
say.
for this information.
I am beyond grateful for that. And when you're obsessed with that, like the way that I always frame it is skills have utility. Knowledge has utility. Learning something is not about checking a box. It's not about, oh, everybody agrees. Like, I'm sure you've seen those tests where you can put people in a group, everyone's an actor except the test subject, and you draw a bunch of lines or whatever, and clearly one of them is longer than the others, and everybody goes, yeah, they're all the same length.
Yeah.
And the person's like, something like 70% of the time, people be like, yeah, they're all the same length, even though they fucking know that they're not. But they don't want to look like a fool. They want to conform to what everybody else is saying. And I'm just saying, the ability in that moment to be in the 30% is powerful beyond all recognition.
Yeah.
And the person that's like, to your point, oh God, who was it that was like put in a tower or threatened with death, or did they actually kill him for saying that the Earth rotates around the sun and not the other way around? Copernicus? I can't fucking remember.
Galileo?
Maybe, sure, that sounds about right. But yeah, that's, to me,
I love that idea, like the power of being in the 30%. Who has the courage to say that the line is longer than the others.
I'm so desperate to be tested. I want to end up on a like hidden camera show. Do you know how many times I play that game with myself?
Maybe we'll get that for you for your birthday. Have you ever seen the movie The Game?
Yes. Do you know how much I fucking hate that movie?
What?
That movie makes me angry in a way that borders on irrational.
Why?
The man jumps off a fucking building.
But that was the whole point. Like he gets his life back, and there's breakaway glass, and
what
Lily's
if
in
I
a
jumped
tuxedo,
off the other side of the building?
and he sees that his brother's alive.
I was offended to my core. Now, there's a rule.
But you had an emotion.
I did, and there's a rule in film school. If you love something too much, you should watch it again. If you hate something too much, you should watch it again.
And have you watched it again?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm comforted by my hatred.
This has nothing to do with basically anything, but I just want to ask you this question. Have you read Robert Greene?
Yes, most, if not all of his books.
Right. So I've worked my way through quite a bit of him in quarantine.
Nice.
And I have not book clubbed this with anyone.
Let's talk about it.
48 Laws of Power.
Yeah.
Thoughts.
Very
feelings.
powerful.
Yeah.
They scare me. I'm not Machiavellian at all. I love to connect with people. I think that he is very right for a certain type of person.
Yeah.
I think everybody can learn something from a lot of the rules, and you'll find that a lot of the rules apply to like different people in your life. The more Machiavellian they are, the more that more rules will apply to them. I thought it was a great book. I
Apparently,
loved it. It made me a
Drake
little sad.
is making it into a show on Quibi. Did you hear
I'm
this?
not surprised. Hip hop fucking took to Robert
Right.
Greene.
And like entertainment
tremendously.
industry, and because it's a lot. It's wild though. It's not even a book that I could comfortably recommend to people because I read it. I felt like I was reading it more as like an archaeologist or something
Right.
of like, oh, okay, that's because I read that. I read Seduction. Did you read Seduction?
No, that's his really
That
early
one's
work.
why I think that I want to say that. Oh, I don't know what order it came in, but it's fascinating because it sort of his idea was that seduction was, and certainly men can be seducers, but that seduction was the weapon that was the only weapon that women had in the earliest forms of civilization. So you look at someone like Cleopatra, who from all accounts was not beautiful, was, sort of not the oldest child, was not even the second oldest, I think, in her family. In no way should she have become queen. And not only did she become queen, but she was with not one, but two of the most powerful men in her time period and ruled for 20 years or something.
Wow.
Like, her story's crazy. How did she do that? So it looks at a bunch of,
How did she do that?
Seduction.
Tell me more.
Well, so he divides the book into the different kinds of seducers. So like the ingenue, I'm not going to remember any of them, but if you read through them, it is really interesting because you're like, oh, I know that person.
Right.
I know this person. This is how you do this thing. It was super fascinating in the first half. And then the second half was like literally called like how to take advantage of your victims. And it was basically like you
That's
identify,
intense.
right, like you identify which kind of seducer you would be, and then you go like, 3B, and then you go over here and you're like, okay, this is how you use your
Wow.
particular type of seduction to like gain power with other people. And that's when I had to close the book because I was like, this is
This took a
really
dark
creepy.
turn.
It took a dark turn. And I read Mastery too.
The 48 Laws of Power had a dark edge to it, which is why I say it's Machiavellian. I
Right.
don't resonate with that
Right.
very much, but there is powerful
It's
stuff.
fascinating.
Mastery was amazing.
Mastery's
Human
amazing.
Nature was amazing.
I haven't read that one.
Fucking fantastic.
Okay.
It's so, there's a concept, this is one of the books that might be important enough for me to one day sit down and write, called The Physics of Being Human.
Okay.
And like, so your brain uses heuristics and it's pre-programmed with shit to make sure that you can, function. And there's just basic drivers that it gives you: hunger, sex, thirst, right? So but there's more, and they get more interesting and more complicated the more that you explore it. And he goes into a lot of that stuff. Like, what are the drivers? What are the things that are universal?
Oh, wait, I think I did consider this on Amazon, and then I didn't end up getting
I really enjoyed
Okay.
it. It was very interesting. The one recommendation I'll make to anybody is go watch the book tour for any of these books. You'll get a sense of the flavor. If
Smart.
you're interested, then you
They're
buy the
dense, though. Robert Greene is like 1,000
Human Nature
pages.
was fucking robust.
And I love,
Robust.
history is one of my favorite subjects, so I think that's why I still ended up devouring them, because I love, it's not just him sort of saying, these are my theories, it's like using actual
Yeah.
historical, this is the context, this is where it's showing up.
I want to talk more about seduction.
Right.
And as
I
a
wish I
woman-
could remember.
Well, forget the book. I
Okay.
mean seduction.
Okay.
So if I were a beautiful woman,
Okay.
I would not remain blind to my ability to leverage the male gaze, as they call it.
Oh,
I'm not saying
feel like
that I
that's
would
like a-
be gross about it, but that to me is,
I feel like that's like,
there's power in that.
I don't know, but I feel like, yeah, I mean, that's what this book is all about. I feel like this is, I think the example he uses of this is like Marilyn Monroe. Because in every single archetype he has of a seducer, he has an actual historical figure that represents it. You might like it.
If it ends with go to
I
column
know.
B4 to
I know.
figure out how to
that
take
was
advantage
weird.
of your
that
victim,
took a weird,
no
weird
thanks.
turn. But I don't know. I feel like that's like something a guy would say, or I guess it depends on. I don't feel like
What's something a guy would say?
that you would, if you were a beautiful woman, that you would be aware of like using of your beauty with men.
Yeah.
Because I think it depends. There's so many factors, right? Because that's definitely not. It feels very uncomfortable for me to be going into a world where I'm not married.
Interesting.
Like if you want to
Fuck.
No.
Oh my God.
Do you understand that I've only been on a
Maybe
date
he's-
with one man and I married him?
Whoa.
I'm 37. I was with Dave for 18 years.
I didn't even think about that.
It feels like I
Whoa.
was thinking this thing, you know, people always talk about like what terrifies, like do the thing that you're afraid of. And I'm like, that is such a like, it feels, I don't even know, because I don't even feel like I was ever really an adult as a single woman. I met him when I was 19. Like just turned 19, not like a seasoned 19.
Right.
And so it makes me uncomfortable to even, like this is so dumb. Like we were, I've taken up golf. Yes.
Okay.
Me and Sammy and Beans decided we were gonna, because that's something you can do in quarantine where you like, you go to a driving range, you're not near anybody, you could like have a beer and you hit balls. And we were at the driving range and this like college age kid was our server and he's 100% flirting for a tip. Like there's no, I mean, he's using like lines, right? Like there's no way that you ladies are that much older than I am, right? And even though I know what he's doing, I'm so uncomfortable. I'm like in a bag. Like I'm just like putting myself in a cocoon because I don't even know, that makes me so I definitely would not be the person who would try and use my beauty to,
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I can't even, interestingly enough, some of the gossip coming out of this experience was that I have already found a new person, which, can we talk about this for 1 second?
Please.
I am fascinated by the amount of people, including that college age server, and I was on a production call with a really big network the other day, and it was Zoom, right? And there's 10 people on this call and you do these like meet and greets. What do you want to do? What do you want to make? Blah, blah, blah. And they have some idea of my life and what's going on. And, you know, we're sort of talking about something like divorce comes up, whatever. And this female executive of this very big company says, don't worry. You are going to find love again. You will be married again in no time. And I'm on a business call and like you're trying to like impress these people and I don't want to like whatever. And I was like,
bitch, are you for real?
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Like I didn't the first time.
Right.
And then when she said something again later in the conversation, like you just any minute, like I know it seems like you're gonna find, and I was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just have to stop. Why would you think? Why? And I know why. It's because that's someone else's reality.
Right.
But why would you think that is on my agenda at all? That like the second like that I have made the hardest decision of my entire life, not only like that I'm in this, that it's pain and blah, blah, but that you think that the second that I'm ready, I got to go get married again? Why? Why would I ever do that again? It is a thing. I'm like, I'm gonna just take note of how many people are like, don't worry, he's out there. Like as if that's my ultimate goal.
Now the one thing I'll say is the words you just said are, why would I ever do that again?
Right.
I have to imagine there is a point at which enough time has elapsed that it at least isn't something that is an absurd idea.
Oh, I think like,
I get why you wouldn't want to do it anytime soon.
Right. I cannot imagine getting married again.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't know if that's like hurt talking. But why would you?
Let's talk about it, because I was very prepared to never get married.
Okay.
And when I met Lisa, I did not intend to get married. And it's interesting. If she and I broke up, I don't think I'd ever get married again either.
Right.
Which is a weird thing to say from a position of being married. But that's because I am entirely fine by myself.
Right.
And it is only because of that particular human that I was like, actually, this is fucking amazing.
Right. Like there's this big thing going on right now. I kept seeing it everywhere that Charlize Theron did an interview. And it was like shocking because Charlize said that she hadn't been on a date in 5 years. And I saw more of her quote, and what she actually said was like, my life is awesome. And if you are trying to take up my time or ask, like, you've got to bring something even more awesome to the table. Or why, you know, she's like a mom, she's like career, like business. Why? She's like, why would I? And what I thought was so funny that what the internet latched onto was not like strong, independent, single mom, killing it, living her best life. It was like Charlize Theron has not been on a date. Like, she's fine. Everyone calm down. She's fine.
Interesting. It's really interesting. I've never had to spend too much time thinking about it because I only fear two things: something happening to my wife and brain damage. Those are the sum total of my fears.
I have a lot of fear of something happening to my brain too.
It's fucking crazy.
I like the idea. So I'm gonna take horseback riding lessons. I know, Tom, but I got the best helmet. I got the best helmet on the market. Like the Maserati of horse helmets.
There's a thing. I think it's called a gator back. But you're going to want to look into it. It's what stuntmen wear when they have to do falls onto their back.
Okay.
Check it out.
I'm not like jumping horses. I'm just like riding around in a corral.
But this is a little like if somebody said that I'm going to take up cheerleading. The number one sport that leads to injuries that end in paralysis is cheerleading.
Right.
Number two, I think, is horseback riding. Like,
okay, it is a childhood dream.
Okay.
And it's one of those things that I always wanted to do and never had the time. And in quarantine, I was like, girl, you have the time.
Girl, ride your horse.
Girl, ride that horse. And it's one of those things where I'm like, here's the truth. I'm afraid of a lot of like physical things, like skiing. You know this because we like stay in the hotel and drank champagne, or I drank champagne. You probably had green juice or something. With a group of people in a group setting. That sounded weird for a minute. So like I'm afraid of things that go fast. I'm afraid of things that are on like blades. I'm afraid, and I'm tired of being afraid of dumb stuff. So I'm like,
I take it all back.
Right. I'm like, I want to ride a horse, and it scares the absolute shit out of me. And so I'm gonna buy a really good helmet, which I already did. And I got the special pants.
Respect.
And I'm going to see if I can master this.
I actually get that.
But I do have, same as you, I have a lot of fear of something happening in my brain because I almost said the lamest thing.
Let's hear it.
No, it feels too weird. I love being alone with my thoughts.
Yep.
I love, like I was reading something the other day where someone was saying, there's an author named Colleen Hoover who writes fiction. She's an incredible author, and she was talking to her mom, and her mom's really active and has been her whole life and is like fit and works out and whatever. And Colleen was saying that she always feels guilty or maybe feels shame because her mom's always so active, and she as a writer just sits and like writes all day, and she doesn't do any of the stuff. She feels like lazy in comparison to her mom. And she was telling her mom this, and her mom was like, oh, I never stop moving because I can't be alone with my thoughts. And Colleen was like, wow, that's crazy because I love my thoughts. And I thought that's me for sure, is I love just thinking, just like losing time. I love being on an airplane. I love journaling. I love just, like I said, it's like puzzles in my mind. I'm trying to figure out.
I was just going to say, between being a fiction author and enjoying the puzzle part of being an entrepreneur, that's where the thinking, because you're not falling into the obsessive rumination where you get like a dark thought and you're just looping around it. No. You're problem solving. You're trying to think your way through it, or you're spending time with a character. Like that stuff is really, really fun.
Well, I started intermittent fasting.
Word.
Right.
Preach.
And I finally was like, oh, I get it, Tom. Because I've never had clarity of thought the way that I have doing intermittent fasting.
Dude.
And it was also the first time that I could see the correlation. I know this is so obvious, but like the correlation between eating and brain fog.
Yeah.
And like how
Especially
careful.
it depends on what
You're eating is what I mean. Is like having to pay attention to the diet and what are you taking in, and you ate that thing and how does it make you feel? Because when I was writing years ago, it was such a stressful process for me that I would like garbage. Like, oh, I'm going to go get a burrito for lunch because I'm trying to give myself some kind of carrot to dangle to get through this word count. And then I'm going to eat that burrito and not understand that that's why now I can't even put a sentence down. I have like crazy brain fog and I'm super tired. And then I'm going to go jack myself up on caffeine so that I can tweak back out to go back to, it was like wild. And Amy started doing intermittent fasting and she was like, I really think you'll like this, you should try. And I did it. And I literally, one of the first thoughts I had was like, oh, I get it, Tom.
Dude, intermittent fasting is so legit. It is so powerful. I intermittent fast 5 to 7 days a week, depending on the week. I
feel like it's important to say that I'm going to speak for you, but I feel like I can speak. I feel like I can say this. Neither one of us are doing intermittent fasting to lose weight.
It's part of weight management for me for sure. But I do it for longevity. For
like the living forever thing.
Yes, which, as we said, this is my year of accepting death, but I do want to stay high functioning as long as humanly possible. So it is twofold for me. Part of it is weight maintenance. If I were going to go into a hardcore weight loss phase, though, I would still intermittent fast.
Well, the only reason I say it is because I feel like a lot of times women hear about intermittent fasting and they get turned on by it because if you're eating in a smaller window, then you're taking in less calories and it's a weight loss thing. And that feels like a dangerous way to approach weight loss.
This is where I have no sensitivity. My wife is so good at being like, you can't fucking say that. Like, so my wife struggled with this as a kid, had an eating disorder. And so she's like, you've got to be fucking careful. It is so different. I'm so blind to that. I have no internal problem. Like, so for instance, when I was really dieting hardcore and I turned to my wife with glee and I was like, I would make an amazing anorexic. And she was like, hit the fucking pause button. She was like, people get into really fucking dangerous places. And I said, okay, well, here's the interesting thing about this. The reason I would never actually become an anorexic is I understand the mechanisms of how people go into a dark place. So I said, I'll tell you what, you are entirely in control of how lean I get. I said, if I ever start looking unhealthy, you say one word and I will stop on a dime, because once I get focused on a goal, I go fucking hard. So this is a period of my life where I had 6-pack abs. I really went hard for this shit. And
what did you have to do to have, sorry, did I just startle you?
No.
What did you have to do to have 6-pack abs?
Well,
for real.
What did I do, or what does one need to do? Because they are unfortunately very different.
You're so weird. What answer in whatever way you would like to.
Okay, because the true answer of what I did, I don't advise to anybody. I did what would be called rabbit starvation. So 80%, maybe 85% of my calories were from protein.
Okay.
0 carbohydrates. I mean, I almost didn't even have vegetables.
What'd you eat?
Essentially eating boiled chicken and a little bit of steamed broccoli. Only thing I would put on it is salt. I would eat 2 meals.
That
was it. And it worked. I got lean as fuck.
How many calories were you taking in, do you know? Were you eating like a lot of chicken at least?
No. I was probably taking in 1,500 calories a day.
Holy crap.
It was misery on a level you can't imagine. Training. I was doing strength training and cardio. I was doing like 1 to 2 hours of cardio a day.
But you just wanted to see if you could get it?
I did it for 2 years.
I think a lot of us needed to hear that that's what it takes, because we want no part of that.
It doesn't take that. That's why I said there are 2 ways to answer this question.
Okay.
Tom was a moron.
Okay.
Did it the dumbest possible way.
Okay.
Don't fucking do it like this.
Okay.
But I was a hardcore motherfucker. I stuck with it. I did it. I got lean as fuck. It was awesome.
Right.
I looked so good. It was so cool.
Oh my God.
And you would stand in the mirror in your underwear. You'd like take pictures of your abs. It was awesome.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
And then it got to the point my wife pulled me aside and said, you no longer have a personality.
Aww.
And you need to start eating again. And you're now spilling into, you don't look lean, you look skinny.
Okay.
And so I was like, cool. I said, you say one word and I'll normalize out. And so then I stopped being that hardcore. I still look great, but filled out a bit more. Actually thought it looked better. And then I started learning about how to do it the right way. The right way to do it would be intermittent fasting. You're going to be doing a high-fat diet, moderate protein, and the only carbohydrates you're going to take in, just to round
High fat, like avocado?
Perfect. Couldn't imagine a better fat source than avocado. But you're also going to have some red meat if you're so inclined.
But then all these, like The Rock, I'm going to give him as my example.
Please.
Like,
amazing.
He's not eating avocado. You think that's what he's eating?
No, but can we?
You think he's doing steroids?
He is. You can't get that big. You can't get that big. How about this? He has done steroids extensively at some point in his life, for sure. And I love it. He's amazing. Come on the show. I take it all back, Rock. I'll never bring it up again. But he is incredible. I'm not taking anything away. Taking steroids does not make you big.
Yeah, it's not like someone else is working out.
Working your fucking ass off.
Right.
And being supplemented with an exogenous form of testosterone or something along those lines allows you to get that big.
And is it that it gives you more energy to work out more?
You repair the muscle faster.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So that is, and I'm sure it has a whole host of other benefits from allowing you to contract your muscles. So I'm making that up, but I'm sure there are things like that. They terrify me. Exogenous substances terrify me. So I've never fucked with them. So I've never researched much about it. But there's just a certain size that once somebody's north of that size,
right.
Almost, and in fairness, I don't know that he takes them. This is me guessing based on just how big he is.
Right.
But when you work, like Michael Phelps could eat whatever. He could eat like a trash compactor. You're outputting that much. The Rock obviously works out extraordinarily hard.
Right.
So.
I had this epiphany about him the other day that was like mind-blowing to me, and you're going to be the 7th person I've told, and nobody's impressed by it, but please be. Do you follow him on social?
The Rock?
Yeah.
I almost don't ever go on social.
Okay, good. It's garbage. You shouldn't. Do you know about his cheat meals?
Yes.
Okay, so on Sundays, he does these massive cheat meals, whatever. It's this whole thing.
I've seen photos.
Right. And for the longest time, I have tried, I'm like, why Sunday? And if you know the answer already, don't answer, because you're going to be like the kid that tells the, right. I'm like, why not Friday night? Why not Saturday? Like Sunday feels so not fun. Totally. Sunday's like my least favorite day, whatever. And then I had this epiphany. I'm like, oh my gosh, The Rock is a freaking genius, because Monday is a natural reset cue.
Truth.
So if I had a treat meal on Friday night, there is a solid chance that on Saturday I'm going to be like, maybe I need some chips because it's the weekend.
Right.
Like, I signaled something to my brain. But if you had that on Sunday night, Monday morning, even if you're like a slob, most people on Monday morning try again.
Let's see if I can convince you to do it on Saturday.
Okay, tell me Saturday.
So Saturday has a natural party vibe, no matter what. You've just been trained so much. That's why having a Monday off does not feel as good as having a Friday off. Friday feels like, wow, this is like an extra party day, because Friday's already got a good vibe. The whole rest of the world's in sync with that. On a Saturday, to be like, yo, my Saturday is my big cheat day, and this is what my wife and I used to do. Was
the whole day.
We would starve ourselves during the week, legitimately. Not good. Again, I'm not encouraging people to do this. This just is what we did. All the
disclaimers.
We would starve ourselves during the week, and then we would go so ham on a Saturday, it was comical. One time my wife woke up and I was gone. And she called me. She's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm waiting outside the Cheesecake Factory for it to open so that I can get cheesecake. Because the second she's awake, we can start eating. So I wanted to make sure I was there the second they opened so I could get it and get home as quickly to when she woke up as humanly possible.
Oh, my Lord.
And we would just go fucking crazy. And because it naturally feels like a party day, you're eating, and then quite frankly, on Sunday, it's like you're so full from the previous day, you probably feel a little sick. This is like the worst way. You're like, do I really want? This is
hilarious. Well, my thing is, I typically do my long runs on Sundays.
Okay.
And so I can't do a Saturday night craziness, because then I'm sabotaging Sunday run.
Respect that.
But if you run 10 miles
and
Sunday, then you're like so hungry, and it's the best.
There is something to be said for that, because your muscles will be screaming for the glycogen.
Right.
I just find Sunday it's hard for me to stay in that party vibe. Like, I work usually a lot on Sunday.
Do you?
Yeah.
Sunday's like for sure my day of rest.
Saturday is my day of rest. I still work, but just not a lot.
Yeah.
So I have free hours. So one, I wake up very early. My wife likes to draw. So on a Saturday, let's say I wake up at 4 a.m. and then my wife is going to draw until 10 or 11 a.m. So during that time, I can do whatever the hell I want. So that's when I write, or I'm working on a comic book or something like that. So that
I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No, please.
I was just going to say, it's insane how talented she is.
Yeah, my wife is ridiculous.
It's like, it's not like it's cute. Like you drew a thing.
Right.
Because we were, walking through the house and she has stuff and I'm just like, I see it on social, but it's insane.
Insane.
Like you just saying like, she's going to draw for 5 hours.
Yeah.
And then you see what she's creating. You're like, yeah, that probably takes a while.
Oh God, it takes her a very long time. She'll put 20 hours into a single drawing.
Wow.
And they are incredible.
What does she do with them?
They're often gifts for people.
I need to ask for one. My birthday's in January.
Hey. Yeah, they're often gifts for people. We put them up around the house. And then she didn't draw for a very long time.
Yeah.
So we don't have some huge back catalog. I mean, she must have taken close to 15 years off.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Becoming
I
an
interrupted you.
entrepreneur,
I'm
man.
sorry.
No, please.
You were talking about on Saturdays, she's drawing. You can do whatever you want during those hours.
Yeah, so I end up working a lot during that time. So that my day of rest, even though I work a little bit, is Saturdays.
When you're working, break it down for me percentage-wise.
Yep.
What is creating is how much time?
During the week or during the weekend? It's very different.
Ooh, tell me all.
So Monday through Friday, if I'm awake, I'm either working or working out. That's a rule. Now, the technical truth is actually...
Wait, what?
Yeah, so it's technical. I'll give you the real
Okay.
answer, but because it's so much easier to say it the other way. Sunday night through Friday night, I'm either working or working out.
Okay.
So around 7 or 8 p.m. on Friday, I stop working and now it's the weekend. And so then it's basically any work that I do on the weekends, unless I have a deadline or something big coming up, I'll still work, but it's only things I want to do.
Okay.
So it might be the new comic that I'm doing. I'm not under any deadlines. I'm in the world building phase. I'll do that. On the weekends, if I want to watch a movie or something, which for me is still like in the realm of things I need to get good at and have a core competency for our business. Would I call it hard work? No, but it's like in that vein. So I might watch a movie or watch anime or something, a long story about why that's meaningful. But the work during the week is 60% overhead, 40% shit that I love. I would love to flip it or even go less, but that's the reality. On the weekends, it's only stuff that I love.
But is it creating? Are you in mostly creation phase now?
Mostly.
Okay.
On the weekends. No. During the week. So during the
You're
week,
like
it's figuring out
CEO,
marketing, it's copywriting, it's figuring out what's broken where, going through spreadsheets, looking at data, finances, dealing with legal shit, contracts.
It's my nightmare.
Yeah, I mean,
it's my nightmare.
Unfortunately, I've
the
tried
minutia.
desperately to make my wife the COO, and she just refuses.
Right.
Even after getting her to read Rocket Fuel, which thank you, it
Yes,
came from
such a
you.
good one.
And it is her personality,
Yeah.
but it isn't what she wants to do.
Right.
So,
Right.
damn that.
I'm just always curious, like how other people break it down.
What's your breakdown like?
I work Monday through Friday, and I'm pretty hardcore about that, because I have kids, and
you're trying to keep the weekend free?
yeah. There was a time, I talk about this in the first book, there was a time where I really was a workaholic and I wasn't present. And if I had died back then, I would have said that I was not proud of myself. I might have been successful in terms of finances, but I wasn't successful as a mom, or as a human. I just was like, I was really unhealthy and I was chasing the wrong things.
What does a healthy human look like?
To me, it looks like, this sounds again like a hippie, but it feels like I know who I am. I'm like living my life in a way that feels like this is the life that I want to live. Because unhealthy for me is obsessing over chasing the wrong things, ignoring your kids so that you can work, all day long on some stupid crap that doesn't actually matter. I just don't think I was doing it very well back then. And the honest truth was, it comes naturally to me being an entrepreneur, and it didn't come naturally to me being a mom. And so I gravitated to the one, like addiction, right? the whole thing with addiction is that it can numb out a pain that you feel. And being an entrepreneur absolutely numbed out the fact that I felt like I was failing over here.
How did you right that ship?
I had to understand what was going on. Well, honestly, I got sick. Like my body, I am hyper aware of this, that I will not experience stress and then I will not experience stress and then my body will just shut down. So I got Bell's palsy. I've had it 3 times.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had Bell's palsy 3 times. I lived with vertigo for a year. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That year with vertigo was like the final straw. I saw every doctor, had brain scans, thought I had a tumor. Finally went to see what do you call it? Like not a natural path, but like a holistic doctor. And I talked to him and what?
It's the only way to fly.
Right. And he just sort of was like, tell me all the things. And I was telling him all the things. And he was like, oh, this is not physical at all. This is all emotional stuff. And I did not know. I was before any personal development, any growth, anything.
Is it overwhelmed from work, or is it the stress of like, I don't feel as bonded to my kids as I feel like I should?
Yeah, all of it.
I love how much you've talked about that. That's so fucking
yeah,
powerful.
All of it. Of like, I feel like I'm failing. What I say a lot now, I always say this to moms because I don't think anyone says this, is I did not like being a mom at all. I loved my kids. I didn't like being a mom. And I thought I was a monster.
Do you like being a mom now?
Love it.
What'd you do? How'd you like overcome that?
My kids got older.
That's it.
That's
just
it.
That's a phase.
And that's why I say it is I don't love babies, and I love like your babies and toddlers are great. They're cute. I have a toddler, but it's not a phase in parenting that I like. I'm not that mom. I know moms who are that mom. It's not me. My 2 older boys are 13 and 12. It is the greatest joy in my life. Wow. They're so funny. They're so interesting. They're like little weirdos. They're like coming into their own. They have funny stuff. Like I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with my kids. And what I didn't know was that it was an age thing. So I'm a better mom for kids who are a little bit older. Once you turn like 4, which is my daughter's 3. Yes, I know. Send a letter. That's when it really, to me, starts to feel like, okay, that's an age that I click with. But because I never heard another mom say that, I thought, you're the worst. You're so awful. Like, you don't like this, which means that you don't like your kids. And it was this whole shame spiral. And really, it was just, I needed time. That's all it was. But all the stuff that came from, getting sick and whatever, remember I told you, I wouldn't have gone to therapy to be a whole, healthy, happy person. I went to therapy because the vertigo was slowing me down. And I gotta, right? Yeah. I gotta move.
100%.
And
it's exactly why I dealt with my anxiety.
Right.
This is now fucking up my business.
Right. I got stuff to do. I don't have time for this. So it took a lot of work, but I am hyper aware that I am go to such high capacity of like, get it done. Like I was an event planner. And I was planning weddings that were $750,000, $1 million weddings, like Los Angeles. Wow. Yeah, crazy. Like get an Egyptian bride over here. Let's spend all the money. It's a multi-day affair. Like what? Wild money. If the cake falls over, the kitchen catches on fire, the bride's dress splits, there is no option but to handle that. There is no choice. That was some of the hardest years of my life and such incredible grace under pressure because there isn't an alternative. And I see that manifest in my life now. There's plenty of alternatives in my life now, but I don't see them. There's always a way. We will figure this out. Like I've had every freaking disaster you can imagine happen on a wedding day and always had happy clients because I would always tell myself like, you have until the end of this reception to make this right. No matter what happened, you have until the end of this reception to make this right. You can bring this back around, like figure it out, find a way. So
what's the craziest thing you had to deal with?
One time, in the front of the room, they start giving the toasts. In the back of the room, bride's grandfather falls over, and within seconds, like someone else at the table who was a doctor is doing heart compressions.
Oh shit!
Yeah, grandpa's flatlining in the back of the room. Now, here's what's wild. My job as a wedding planner is to protect the bride and groom from catastrophe.
She's like, I have till the end of the reception to get him back to life.
I was like, no one will know this is happening.
Whoa.
So in the front of now he's in the back and everyone's turned looking at the speeches. And so I had a rule in my company, never let them see you run. And I still believe in this. So I would tell everybody on our team, if you are at an event and you see someone on staff running, even if they're running in excitement, you're going to assume something bad's happening. So my rule was never let them see you run. And grandpa falls over, someone's doing chest compressions, mouth to mouth, and the only people who have noticed are the people at his table. And I'm like, keep whatever. And so I tell my assistant, I'm like, go to the front, tell them to call 911. Like, and she takes off at a dead sprint. And I'm watching, she takes off at a dead sprint. And then immediately I see her, like she hits a force field and she starts walking. And the joke was later, I was like, Danielle, if someone's dying, you're allowed to run.
Yeah.
So I said, tell them to call 911 and ask if they'll come with their sirens off and lights off, because you can do that.
Right.
And they came up, got him on hand to the heavens, got him on a gurney, like we got him out of the room, like lift grandpa, take him out, got him out of the room, got him on a gurney, off to Cedars-Sinai. Nobody knew.
Whoa.
And he lived. Mazel tov. There's always a way. And later, you know, because they had sort of like sensed, I went up to the bride and after he was in the thing, and she said, is everything okay? And I said, Grandpa's okay, but he did, we had a little moment, and he would take him to the hospital, and he's great, and Aunt Helen's there with him now, and it's all going to be okay.
Wow.
And what he wants most is for you to go do this, you know, let's go to the first dance. Let's go do it. She had a great reception.
Wow.
Because I never had it happen, but I heard stories. Like there was I hate to say this, I'm like, what if this person just randomly is watching? But there was, I had a friend who was a wedding planner who, during the first dance, during the hora at a wedding, the groom's mother dead during the first dance.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm. And you're done. Your anniversary's ruined, the wedding's done, like everything.
Your anniversary,
everything,
oh my God.
everything. And so unless it was something like that, I thought that my job was everything that was possible to keep it, to make it okay for them. And I have, my Lord, have I had some experiences. But you just keep, like, there's a way. You get them a glass of champagne. You're like, we're fixing this. It's fine. In fact, if you're good at your job, they never even know that the kitchen caught on fire.
There's always a way.
Until the reception's over.
Perfect place to end.
Right.
Rachel.
Tom.
This was so fun.
Yeah.
My longest interview ever. This
really?
was amazing. And I could have kept
God.
going.
Oh my gosh. I kept thinking of, like, I had a list of things I wanted to talk to you about, but I'll just send you guys voice memos later. Right.
We'll
we don't have to do it on
Tom
camera.
No, it'd be a lot of fun. I would love to have you back for another
Seriously
marathon.
rad. I appreciate you having me on.
100%. Thanks for being here. Guys, got to read the new book. It is absolutely fantastic. I didn't see that coming. It is amazing. You guys will love it. It is another smash. It is all her, the personality that has made her the phenom that she is, but looking at trauma and how you get past it. And there's always a way till the end of the reception. Right? If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. Take care. What's up, Impactivists? As you guys know, my mission in life is to provide the no BS instruction manual for success. And to that end, we've launched our platform, Impact Theory University. Our goal with ITU is to provide you with curriculum that will help you take your career, business, or personal development to the next level. So regardless of your end goal, ITU is designed to provide you with the universal principles and tactics of success that will propel you forward. So whether you want to build a Fortune 500 company, advance quickly up the ranks at your company, become a more effective parent or partner, or simply get unstuck. There are core principles that apply, and that's where Impact Theory University comes in. But to be clear, ITU is not another podcast or conversation with an influencer. You can get all of that for free right here on our YouTube page. Instead, it is structured education delivered in a compelling format and paired with social support and accountability. We offer 2 tracks, business and mindset. And regardless of which track you choose, you'll gain access to a library of all of our pre-recorded classes, as well as 2 hours of live teaching per month, where you'll have the opportunity to engage with me, ask questions, and meet others in the community. Every class also comes with an actionable worksheet designed to help you take the immediate action that is required to make any new skill stick. And last, but certainly not least, as a student enrolled in ITU, you'll get access to an exclusive online community of other like-minded individuals who will help you study the content, work through all of your goals, and keep you accountable at all times. ITU pricing starts as low as $47 a month for the mindset track and $97 a month for the business track. There's also a 50% discount if you buy the whole year up front, and additional discounts if you sign up for both mindset and business. When you bundle all of the discounts together, the cost drops to roughly 80 cents a day. I think ITU truly is the best content we have ever made, but if you sign up and don't agree that it's worth, say, 10 times what you paid, just take advantage of our no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee. I don't want any of us to get paid unless we're delivering disproportionate value. So trust that the refund process will be absolutely hassle-free. And if this sounds like something that would help you move forward in your life, but you can't afford it, we do have a scholarship program that you can apply for that provides free access to those in need. All right, everybody, if you want to take advantage of this and make a dramatic leap forward in your life, sign up today. The link is in the description, or you can go directly to university.impacttheory.com. I look forward to seeing you on the inside, my friends. And until then, be legendary. Take care.
I didn't want to be in that place anymore. And I think at the time I had convinced myself that if I could just get to a different city, I think a lot of us do this, we think, if I could just move to New York, or if I could just get to LA, or if only I could lose, 50 pounds, or if only I could have this, or you think that your happiness is dependent on something outside yourself.